Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Thursday, May 7th, 2026 meeting of the Board of Behavioral Sciences. My name is John Sovek, and I'll be assuming the duties of chairperson for the board today for the meeting today. Before we convene, I would like to remind everyone present that the board is a consumer protection agency charged with administering and enforcing the board's laws. Where protection of the public is inconsistent with other interests sought to be promoted, the protection of the public shall be paramount. The Board of Behavioral Sciences will be holding this public meeting in person and via the WebEx platform. I will announce when there are moments where we're doing public comments on the various issues. For each public comment period, we will first be accepting members from the participants in the audience present in the room. Then the moderator will open the lines as appropriate so that the remote audience members can comment. Each commenter will have 2 minutes to comment. Moderator, would you please provide the audience with instructions on how they may participate during the meeting at the appropriate times?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a reminder for the participants joining us online, if you're not currently talking, just be sure that you have your mic muted so that we can have the best sound quality possible. When it comes time for public comment, the chair will announce that, and we will first take public comment from those in person. And once that is complete, we will turn to the people that are online. You can indicate that you would like to make a comment by raising your hand. If you've called in, you can press *3. Otherwise, simply click on the hand icon next to your name. We'll be displaying instructions. And with that, I return the floor to the chair.
Thank you so much. So first agenda item, call to order and establish of a quorum. Members, during the roll call, can you please introduce yourselves and let the public know whether you are a public or licensed member? So Rachel, can you please roll call to establish a quorum?
Thank you. John Sovek,
LMFT, present, pronouns he, him.
Rebecca Thies,
Public member, present, pronouns she, her.
Susan Friedman,
Public member, present.
Dr. Annette Walker,
Good morning and welcome, everyone. Dr. Walker is present. I'm a public board member and my pronouns are she, her.
Eleanor Uribe,
Good morning. LCSW member present.
Lorez Bailey,
Good morning, public member present.
Kelly Ranasinghe.
Good morning, public member present.
And for the record, Wendy Strack, Dr. Nicholas Boyd, Justin Huft, and Christopher Jones are absent today. We have a quorum.
Yay, thank you, Rachel.
Welcome.
Just for everyone in the room to know and online, we will be taking a lunch break sometime around 11:30. We will also be taking short breaks for everyone's well-being in the room. Additionally, we will now be moving on to our second agenda item, which is a suggestion for future agenda items. Are there any future agenda item suggestions from our board members who are present and online? Thank you. Are there any in-house audience participants who would like to suggest future agenda items? Not seeing anyone stepping up or raising their hands. Let's check online. Are there any online participants who would like to suggest future agenda items?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If any member of the public would like to suggest any future agenda items, please raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon next to your name or pressing *3 if you've called in. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. This is the moderator. I see no request for comment. I return the floor to you.
Thank you. Item number 3, public comments for items not on the agenda. I will now open for public comments for items not on the agenda. As a reminder, the board may not discuss or take action on any members raised during this public comment section, except to decide whether to place the matter on the agenda of a future meeting. Each commentator will have 2 minutes. Do I have any board members who have comments for items that are not on the agenda? Thank you. Are there any comments from our in-house participants for items not on the agenda? Not seeing anyone online. Are there any comments from our participants who are with us on WebEx this morning?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If any member of the public would like to comment on an item not on the agenda, please raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon next to your name, or if you've called in, pressing *3. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. This is the moderator. I see no requests for comment. I return the floor to you.
Thank you so much. So this time we will be moving on to our petition hearings. Today's proceedings will be conducted by Judge Van Royen. So good morning, Judge. I hand this over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sovek. All right, could we have our first petitioner come up? Is that Ms. Medeiros or Medaris? Medeiros, perfect. Thank you, ma'am. If you could have a seat over there for us. Make yourself comfortable. Are you ready to proceed this morning? Perfect. Madam Court Reporter, are you ready for us? Thank you so much. And before we go on the record, I know the board has already taken a roll call, but because there's a transcript for each individual petitioner, we'll have to do it again. So would you mind doing the roll call when I announce it? Okay, perfect. Give me just a second. All right, let's go on the record. Thank you. All right, we are on the record before the Board of Behavioral Sciences, Department of Consumer Affairs, State of California. We're here to review several petitions today, and we will take them in the order that they appear on the agenda. The first one this morning is a petition for early termination of probation by Olga Monique Medeiros. And I will have her name spelled later, OAH case number 2026-040635. And then the license number is LCSW 124061. My name is Wim Van Royen, spelled W-I-M space V-A-N space R-O-O-Y-E-N. I'm an administrative law judge with the Office of Administrative Hearings that's been assigned to preside at the hearing today. Today's date is May 7th, 2026. Notice for hearing at 8:30 a.m. It's about 8:43 a.m. presently. We are conducting the hearing in person as well as via WebEx video conference. I'm just going to have each of the board members that are present for the petition identify themselves for the record, and I'll ask our staff member if she could just do the roll call. Thank you.
John Sovak,
Present.
Rebecca Thies,
Present.
Eleanor Uribe,
Present, LCSW member.
Dr. Annette Walker,
Present Public Board Member.
Kelly Ranasinghe,
Present public member.
Larez Bailey,
Present, public member.
Susan Friedman.
Present, public member.
Thank you very much. I do find that we have a quorum of the board present to hear the petition. Let me take the appearance of our court reporter before I forget to comply with the new law. Thank you so much, Ms. Parkinson. And then on behalf of the Attorney General.
Thank you, Your Honor. Anahita Crawford, Deputy Attorney General, appearing on behalf of the Attorney General pursuant to Government Code Section 11522, representing the people of the state of California and present to assist the panel in fact-finding.
Thank you. Good morning, Ms. Crawford. And last but not least, our petitioner, if you could just state as well as spell your name for the record.
Good morning. Olga Monique Medeiros, OLGA MONIQUE MADARIS.
Thank you, Ms. Medeiros. Thank you for being here. In terms of the procedures today, how the hearing will proceed, first, our Deputy Attorney General will introduce the petition packet and exhibits that have been uploaded into Case Center, and she'll provide us with an orientation about your case. After that, you will have an opportunity to make your presentation under oath to explain why you believe your petition should be granted. You also do have the right to call any witnesses you'd like to testify, and then yourself and any witnesses would be subject to questioning by both the Deputy Attorney General and the board members. Did you have any additional witnesses other than yourself today?
No, I don't.
And there's no requirement, I'm just asking to make sure. The board is particularly concerned with the rehabilitation that you may have engaged in. And so We're not necessarily here to relitigate everything that's happened in the past, although Ms. Crawford will put it in context for us, just so we understand how we all got here today. I want to also remind you, just for your benefit, the board has had the benefit of reviewing your petition packet. So it's not necessary for you to repeat everything that's in there. You can assume members will review it when they decide the case, but you're welcome to highlight or emphasize any portions you think are particularly important with respect to your petition. After the hearing, the board will go into a closed session and will deliberate, and then you won't be receiving an oral decision today. There'll be a written decision provided at some point in the future. Do you have any questions about any of that today?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. At this time, then, I'm going to turn it over to you, Ms. Crawford, to present the petition exhibits and provide an orientation. You can do that in whichever order you prefer. Thank you.
I will go through the exhibits first. The first exhibit is the notice of hearing that's marked as A1 through A11. For today's hearing date, I'd like to mark and introduce that at this time.
And for each of these exhibits, Ms. Medeiros, I'll be asking you whether you have an objection to them. I don't need to hear a formal legal objection. If there's just any concern, let me know, and I can decide whether it fits into a legally recognized objection. Do you have any objection to Exhibit 1?
No.
Thank you. Exhibit 1 is admitted.
Exhibit 2, marked as pages A12 to A13, is the board memorandum of case summary from the probation monitor, Craig Zimmerman. I'd like to mark and introduce that as Exhibit 2.
Any objection to Exhibit 2?
No.
Thank you. Exhibit 2 is admitted.
Exhibit 3 is the license and registration history certification regarding the petitioner's license and registration. We'd like to mark and introduce that as Exhibit 3.
Any objection to Exhibit 3?
No.
Thank you. Exhibit 3 is admitted.
I apologize. Exhibit 3 was page A14. Exhibit 4 is the petition for early termination of probation that was filed by the petitioner, marked as pages A15 through A20, that I'd like to mark and introduce.
Any objection to Exhibit 4?
No.
Thank you. Exhibit 4 is admitted.
Exhibit 5 contains supporting documentation from the petitioner, in this case, continuing education certificates. It is pages A21 through A24. Would like to mark and introduce that as Exhibit 5.
Any objection?
No.
Thank you. Exhibit 5 is admitted.
Exhibit 6 contains the work performance reports submitted by the petitioner. They are on pages A25 through A33. I would like to mark and introduce that as Exhibit 6.
Any objection to Exhibit 6?
No.
Thank you. Exhibit 6 is admitted.
Exhibit 7 contains the petitioner's letters in support of her petition. They are contained on pages A34 through A49. I would like to mark and introduce that as Exhibit 7.
Any objection to Exhibit 7?
No.
Thank you. Exhibit 7 is admitted.
Exhibit 8 is the work supervisor information sheet provided by the petitioner, contained on pages A50 through A52. I would like to mark and introduce Exhibit 8 at this time.
Any objection to Exhibit 8?
No.
Thank you. Exhibit 8 is admitted.
Exhibit 9 contains miscellaneous documents provided by the petitioner. They are documents showing payment of board expenses and a current license status, along with her examination results, her clinical examination results. Would like to mark and introduce that as Exhibit 9.
Any objection to Exhibit 9?
No.
Thank you. Exhibit 9 is admitted. Ms. Crawford, just a quick question, since you mentioned the results from an examination, and is there any reason that we need to seal any portion of these exhibits or not?
No, it's her clinical exam.
Oh, I see. Okay, perfect. I'm just checking to make sure. Thank you.
Yes. And those are contained on pages A53 to A57. And the final exhibit is the disciplinary documents that are the underlying documents of this case. That's Exhibit 10, contained on pages A58 to A78. I'd like to mark and introduce that at this time.
Thank you. Any objection to Exhibit 10?
No.
Thank you. Exhibit 10 is admitted.
With that, Your Honor, I don't have any additional exhibits to introduce, but I can provide a brief background of the matter. The board issued the petitioner an associate clinical social worker registration on February 17th of 2021. On July 11th of 2024, the board issued a licensed clinical social worker license to the petitioner, and that will expire on July 31st of 2026. On July 21st of 2023, an accusation was filed against the petitioner, which resulted in a settlement adopted by the board effective February of 2024, where petitioner was placed on probation for 3 years. The accusation was filed because in January of 2022, the petitioner was involved in a solo vehicle collision due to having drank alcohol and driving when her blood alcohol content was 0.17%. She had collided with a guardrail and her car had come to a stop there. She was convicted of driving under the influence in March of 2023 and placed on 3 years of criminal probation. Petitioner's board probation included weekly psychotherapy, 3 times a month of biological fluid testing, 2 times a week of dependency support program, remedial education, cost recovery, and reimbursement of probation program costs. The petitioner is fully compliant with all aspects of her probation terms. Petitioner's probation is projected to end on January 31st of 2027. She is requesting early termination of probation with approximately 8 months remaining on her probation period. As the burden is on petitioner, I have no further statements or evidence to introduce and would reserve the right to question the petitioner.
Thank you very much, Ms. Crawford. All right, Ms. Medeiros, now is your opportunity to present evidence in support of your petition. Would you like to testify today?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to swear you in. If you could just raise your right hand for me. Do you solemnly state under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you very much. And so since you don't have an attorney to ask you questions, I'm just going to let you speak freely in a narrative format. Just make sure if you do read from something, or sometimes we're a little nervous when testifying, very understandable. Try and just keep it slow for our court reporter because she needs to make sure she gets it all down. And she has my permission to interrupt if she can't hear or needs you to slow down. She's not being rude. She just wants to make sure she gets a good record. All right. And
Lost the internet connection with Mr. Anasingi.
oh, I see. We are going to take a pause, everyone, while we have our remote board member through WebEx access restored. And so we can go off the record at present. Yeah, thank you very much for catching that. Everyone, we will proceed as soon as we can once we get the remote access restored for our board member. Shall I try again? Mr. Anasinge, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, okay, perfect. This is Judge Van Rooyen. I just wanted to check before we go back on the record. What was the last thing you heard me? Did you hear me swear in the petitioner before you dropped off? Or what was the last
Actually,
thing?
the Deputy Attorney General was just introducing her exhibits, but I've reviewed those exhibits, so I'm fine if you want to swear in the petitioner.
I'm not concerned about the exhibits. I'm wondering, Ms. Crawford, could you just provide the procedural summary for him again, just to make sure? Yeah, out of abundance of caution.
Sure.
Since you'll be participating. I'm sorry, everyone. I know it delays things a bit, but I'd rather do it. Make sure he gets access. Is he gonna, this?
He doesn't, because that was just today.
I'm fine if you want to provide the procedural summary.
Sorry, we had a different question. We were provided with 2 paper exhibits as well here today by the petitioner, and we were trying to figure out how to get copies of that to you, since you're not with us here in person.
If you'd like to email it to me, I can review them now.
Perfect. Could we get those emailed perhaps to him? Just stand by, Mr. Anasinge. We're trying to figure it out.
Sure.
Yeah.
We don't need to wait. At this time, we can proceed. We will make sure we have it emailed to you by staff, and you will review those before we make any decision in the closed session so that you've had opportunity to it too. And you'll hear you might hear testimony about it, but we'll make sure you get it reviewed.
That's
All
okay.
right.
Thank you.
Excellent. Then I think we are ready to proceed. Is that correct? Everyone ready? Perfect. Let's go back on the record. All right, we are back on the record. We did lose our remote board member, Mr. Ranasinghe, for just a little bit. He did not hear the presentation by the Attorney General of the procedural history of the case. So at her indulgence, I'm just going to have her repeat that again so that he can hear that too. But other than that, he's got access to all the exhibits. The only other matter is we haven't taken up these exhibits yet, but the petitioner has provided 2 additional exhibits, which we will address during her presentation. They are in paper copies and have been uploaded into Case Center, but Mr. Ranasinghe doesn't have access to them. So we are going to have board staff email copies of those to you, Mr. Ranasinghe, and then like I indicated, before we make any decision in the case, you will have an opportunity to review those so that you have access to the same materials as all the board members present here today. Does that make sense, Mr. Ranasinghe?
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you so much. And then I'm going to turn it back over to you, Ms. Crawford, at this time, just to provide the procedural history. Thank you.
Thank you. The board issued the petitioner an associate clinical social worker registration on February 17th of 2021. On July 11th of 2024, the board issued a licensed clinical social worker license to the petitioner, and that will expire July 31st of 2026. On July 21st of 2023, an accusation was filed against the petitioner, which resulted in a settlement adopted by the board effective February 1, 2024, where the petitioner was placed on probation for 3 years. The accusation was filed because on January 28th of 2022, the petitioner was involved in a solo vehicle collision due to having drank alcohol and driving when her blood alcohol content was 0.17%. She had collided with a guardrail and her car came to a stop there. She was convicted of driving under the influence on March 30th of 2023 and placed on 3 years of criminal probation. Petitioner's board probation includes weekly psychotherapy, 3 times a month of biological fluid testing, 2 times a week of dependency support program, remedial education, cost recovery, and reimbursement of the probation program. She is fully compliant in all aspects of her probation. Petitioner's probation is projected to end on January 31st of 2027, and she is requesting early termination of probation with approximately 8 months remaining on her probationary period.
Thank you very much for providing this summary, Ms. Crawford. And then back to you finally, Ms. Medeiros. I'm sorry for, thank you for your patience. I'll just let the record reflect. I've already administered the oath to you. I'm not going to repeat that. You understand as you now start your testimony that you are under oath, correct?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much. As I indicated, you don't have an attorney, so you can just speak freely in the narrative. Again, you can assume that the board members have reviewed your packet, but feel free to highlight anything you think is appropriate. After you're done with your presentation, Ms. Crawford may have questions for you, and then the board members may have questions for you as well. So with that said, you have the floor. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm a bit nervous. I wrote everything down. Sorry for the length of it. On January 28, 2022, I was arrested for a DUI and officially booked on January 29, 2022. My breath test was 0.16% and my blood test was 0.17%. I had a solo car crash that night and thankfully avoided hurting someone else, myself, and death. There has not been a day where I do not think about the incident and reflect on how my life is very different than it was 4 years ago. I also thank God daily that I survived that day and that nobody in the community was hurt or killed because of my negligence. I truly believe God saved me that night and I now have a deeper love and gratitude for life and my purpose. I carry this with me daily in everything that I do and in my sobriety journey. The day of my accident, I made a decision to drink excessively to the point where I reached a blackout state. This state was quite normal for me when I would drink excessively. In the last 4 years, I have researched and learned a lot about alcohol, its effects on our body and mind, and how it can affect everyone differently. Some are more prone to blacking out. That was the category I fell into. I decided to drink excessively that day to cope with emotionally and because that was sort of the norm for me back then. Using alcohol for many types of reasons that at the time I wasn't fully aware of. Since then, I have completed all legal requirements, paying fees, participated in required classes, driving restrictions, and maintained a clean legal record. Under probation with the board, I have remained compliant with requirements, psychotherapy once a week, paying all fees, AA twice a week, completing educational requirements, random substance testing, all negative, and communicating with my board representative with any issues. Before my probation with the board, I had already stopped drinking as a personal decision to better myself, become a better LCSW, and ensure that what happened on the night of January 28, 2022 never happens again. I have been proactive in my therapy, learning new coping skills and working on my emotional and mental health. Our focus was alcohol abuse / binge drinking and anxiety. However, I would also open up about previous childhood trauma, making connections to my alcohol abuse, cultural connections, discuss family history of alcohol abuse and alcoholism, discovering ADHD as possible diagnosis, and discuss life stressors that I endured along the way, such as financial strain, relationship stress, became engaged to current partner, and career stressors. I discovered the new me who learned how to cope and sit with all my emotions, overthinking, stress, and negative thoughts whenever life threw something at me. I have grown to love the new version of myself that would much rather choose the vulnerable and non-avoidant version than the old version of myself who would avoid and use alcohol to cope. I have gained a deep understanding between my previous alcohol consumption and the actual definitions of alcohol abuse. I now understand my previous behavior and relationship with drinking is considered alcohol abuse related to binge drinking. A deeper understanding of how I used to use alcohol to cope with uncomfortable emotions, feelings, and/or situations, to fit in during family gatherings, and is what I grew up with culturally and previously saw it as normal or okay. During my 4-month alcohol program, which was a requirement of the court, I really enjoyed learning and I look forward to class each week. I enjoyed sharing from my personal experience and enjoyed hearing peers around me discuss their history and relationship with alcohol. It was quite eye-opening and humbling, sitting in a room full of people who were there and who I shared that commonality with. Sitting there, I came to the very raw realization that I had an issue with binge drinking and alcohol abuse that started at a young age. I would guess 19 or 20. Sitting there realizing that when my family and I thought, since we do not drink during the week, only on weekends, then it was okay. It wasn't a problem. But I was wrong. It was and is indeed a problem. We also thought since we could stop drinking whenever we wanted for months at a time and did not depend on it physically, then we didn't have a problem. But in actuality, it was and is a problem. I have learned how to use other methods of coping with my vulnerability and in situations and relationships. I've learned how to set boundaries with family members when it comes to drinking. My family is respectful of my journey and understanding that I will continue to choose a life of sobriety for overall physical, emotional, and mental health. During this time, the first year after my accident and DUI, I asked my aunt to help me learn and follow the AA 12-step program and become a mentor and an unofficial sponsor for me. We lived together at the time, so I thought it would be the perfect support system. I've always viewed my aunt as one of my main supporters in life. She was an alcoholic for many years and is now close to 23 years sober. I maintained this mentorship throughout the last 4 years, where we check in regarding sobriety. The mandatory AA classes through probation I use as a check-in to learn and share with others in group setting. But where I feel the most supported and have gained the most insight is with the one-on-one mentorship I have built with my aunt over the past 4 years. I have also confirmed my motivations to move forward with sobriety and choose it for me. I truly believe we are all able to receive second chances, rehabilitate, grow, and evolve from past mistakes and poor choices. The field I work in is all about rehabilitation, and I believe in that for my parole population clients. I now have an even deeper empathy and understanding for the population I work with, because I know that change and growth is possible when given the chance to prove it and live it through actions. I believe this incident/mistake/poor decision on my part led to many positive changes, growth, and experiences that have helped me become a better LCSW with the current population I work with. I have gained a deeper understanding of empathy with our population who have been to jail or prison based on a mistake, poor decision, or poor choices in their life. I have proven the last 4 years to myself that growth and rehabilitation from mistakes or bad choices is possible. I have put in the work and effort over the past 4 years to make that a possibility. In the past 2 years of being on probation, I have continued to prove the changes and growth which I have worked so hard for. I am thankful that I didn't crash into anyone or harm anyone or myself that night. The first year after my DUI and accident, I was very hard on myself and unforgiving, which is something I have always struggled with throughout my lifetime, which I've tied back to my childhood. Through my mentorship with my aunt, family support, my fiance support, personal weekly reflections, and through therapy, I began to learn how to practice grace, empathy, and patience with myself and my journey. The incident and worst moment of my life is not what defines me. Rather, the person I fought so hard to become over the last 4 years is who I want to be defined as. It has always been effortless for me to view others with grace, compassion, empathy, and patience, which is why I'm in this career. But this journey has taught me to mirror that back to myself. Because yes, I made the worst mistake of my life that night, but I have also made the most growth and change in the past 4 years of my life, because I view this mistake as a blessing and as what was meant to happen to become who I am today and finally face the person that I was and the relationship that I had with alcohol. I used to coach girls basketball at a middle school. The most important lesson I drilled into them at every practice and game was that we all make mistakes on and off the court, but it's what we do after that mistake that matters. We will always have the opportunity to what I called fix your mistake. We decide how and when we do so, but that is what matters. Not giving up on yourself or your team, not getting upset or discouraged, but fixing the mistake in a positive way. This is something I have learned from my childhood in sports, from my coaches and mentors over the years. I continue to live by that with my personal life. This mistake was no different. It took me almost a year to stop beating myself up, but it took me a day to slowly start fixing my mistake. The first step was choosing sobriety. After that decision, all the other minor and major changes followed. I met my fiance, Diane Zamora-Diegues, in June 2022. We shared a commonality for wanting a healthier lifestyle, and at the time, she also was deciding not to drink. She has been one of my biggest support systems and blessings. She has 2 children that I met when they were 4 and 7. They are now 7 and 11. I grew to love them as my own and now see them as my bonus kids. We have focused on building life as a family, being active, and they are my motivation to continue a life of sobriety. I consider myself to be a role model for them, and they do notice everything. My partner rarely drinks and has only had drinks a handful of times since the start of our relationship. We have gone through life stressors as a couple with our extended families and chose therapy and communication rather than relying on substances and avoidance. This year, 2026, we have both started to focus on adding running to our list of physical activities. We have signed up for a full marathon this October and plan on running smaller runs before then individually, together, and even with our son Jace, the 7-year-old, who's very excited to run like his mommies. I truly believe that if I had met my partner and kids before my DUI and before my decision to lead a sober lifestyle, then I would not have been ready to accept them as the blessing that they are in my life today. Reasons why I would like to end my probation early, even if it's only 6 to 8 months, and why it means so much to me. Number one, since last year, I've wanted to transition to a lateral program change within the state and work directly with the prison population under our MAT, medically assisted treatment program for substance-related diagnoses. I would mostly be performing clinical assessments for all participants interested in starting the MAT program and receiving medications to assist with cravings, withdrawal, and their road to sobriety, such as methadone, Vivitrol, and Suboxone. Since the state considers this position more clinical-based, I need to have an unrestricted license. I was offered the position last year, but then told to wait until I'm completely off probation. Number two, the ability to move to a place with my partner and the kids. Financially, we are being practical and moving in together as a family until my finances are fully returned after probation. My partner is also in the process of changing careers from dental to nursing and will start nursing school in October of this year. I would like to be off probation as soon as possible to help save and also help her financially while she is in her 2 to 3 year nursing program for her BSN. Number three, I have worked hard in the past 3 years to pay down $86,000 in school loans. I now owe $16,000. With the help of personal savings and applying for the HCAI mental health grant a few years back, I have been able to pay most of it down. However, the HCAI changed their applicant requirements last year. To reapply, I would need to have an unrestricted license. The open enrollment to apply for this year is between May and July. Being able to apply within the cutoff and be approved to participate in this grant to pay off my final loan would be a great motivation to end probation early. Lastly, the stress and anxiety of missing a daily check-in, financial strain, and overall feeling of being restricted. The current population I work with is on state parole. Most have the opportunity to discharge from parole within their first year if they comply and do not have any violations. This is the goal that we set for each eligible client, and I have witnessed many granted early discharge. The idea is, what is better, 1 year of parole or 2 to 3 years? Also, they are restricted in terms of finding and keeping employment, housing, and sometimes even reconnecting with family. Similar to my population, I would rather have the relief of not feeling restricted for moving forward in life. Things I plan on continuing if probation is terminated early: leading a life of sobriety, my mentorship with my aunt with a focus on sobriety, healthy lifestyle as an individual with my partner and with our kids, therapy, but I would look for a new therapist that specializes in EMDR therapy, which is outside of traditional talk therapy that I have participated in multiple times throughout my adulthood. To continue working on myself and working on my childhood trauma on a deeper level. My current therapist is already aware and encourages that transition. Continuing to better myself through what I have learned and gained from experiences and consequences over the last 4 years. I truly value life on a more significant level after that accident. I believe I was saved for a greater purpose, to change and evolve, but also to pay it forward with the population I work with. I'm grateful for the experience despite all the consequences I have had to complete and continue to go through. If the DUI and crash didn't happen, I don't believe I would have become the changed person I am today. I am also grateful for the experience because it allowed me to face the truth about myself and what led to the accident or what led to the incident of my DUI. I'm appreciative of the last 2 years working with my therapist, and I also feel I am ready to continue my journey and growth and change without the requirements of probation. I feel I am ready to end my probation after 2 years and hope the board agrees. I truly appreciate your time and consideration of this request. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Medeiros. Before I turn it over to questioning by the Attorney General and board members, I did want to address the 2 additional exhibits that you had submitted. And so just to give us a little context, just for the record, the first one, I believe, is a letter from Stacy Edwards. Could you just tell us who that is?
So that's my aunt, the AA mentor that I go to and discuss things with that I mentioned.
Perfect. Thank you. And so I'm going to mark that as Exhibit A.
Okay.
And then the second letter is from Diane Zamora, and it's spelled Diane, Zamora, Zamora. And who is Ms. Zamora?
Current partner that I mentioned as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And that's going to be Exhibit B. Let me see, Ms. Crawford, do you have any objection to Exhibits A and B being admitted?
No.
Thank you. Exhibits A and B are admitted. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And with that said, then I'm going to turn it over to you, Ms. Crawford, for any questions for the petitioner. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Medeiros, are you still on criminal probation?
No,
When did that end?
in March of this year.
In your petition, in item number 28, you mention that you drank and used alcohol to cope emotionally on the day of your arrest. Can you explain more about that statement?
Yes, so during that time, just going through an emotional period with someone that I was involved with. That day was a planned trip with my cousins to go to my cousin's cabin. So usually, drinking was our normal thing to begin with, but emotionally, I think I decided to just go or drink even more excessively that day because of it. And as I mentioned in my statement, I would use alcohol for multiple things back then to cope with emotions. If I felt like nervous, left out, basically the feeling of having to get out of my shell type of thing. So within the last 4 years, I learned that I don't need to do that, that I'm perfectly fine the way that I am and the way that I present soberly.
I do want to follow up on what you just said about getting out of your shell. A lot of your letters from your family and friends have a theme that you are incredibly giving. You're very supportive to others. You're kind of the pillar. You're the glue. And I question, has that vision of you by your family ever been more of a burdensome expectation that led to your binge drinking in order to cope?
Yeah, I think sorry.
Take whatever time you need and feel free to take a sip of water.
I think it's always been a lot for me. to have that role. But it's also a role that I enjoy in terms of I really value family and communities. But what I've a big thing of what I noticed now that I am sober, I noticed quite quickly in probably the first year that I would stretch myself thin a lot when it came to family. So I had to set boundaries with that as well. And then also with drinking, noticing that even if I didn't want to at a certain point or just wasn't feeling it in certain situations, that was just something that I would give into in the past. So having to sit with that and make those connections as to why was really huge in the first year, especially of the last 4 years. So now with my family, it's very different. They are very supportive of my journey. They make sure that when we do family gatherings that they have what they call sober drinks for me, even though I travel with my own all the time. But they understand that this is a lot deeper than just what happened that night, that it relates to my childhood trauma, my dad being an alcoholic, my aunt. There's a lot that goes into it, but they understand, and we've had a lot of conversations and processed a lot of it, especially with my family members that are the closest to me.
Was your aunt's journey through alcoholism and sobriety similar to yours in any way, where you could relate?
Yeah, hers was similar in a lot of ways, where mine was more family related, where I would be with my family a lot, going out, even just drinking at the house. My aunt was more going out with friends. It was only her and my dad, so they didn't grow up with a huge extended family like I did, but their father was an alcoholic, and it kind of ran in their side of the family, drugs as well. So she grew up with that at a young age, grew up with not a lot of parental supervision. So we have discussed the similarities, but also the differences in how we were raised and kind of the crowds that we chose to drink with.
I know you mentioned that you were getting together with your cousins on the night of the incident. Is your aunt a presence during other family events?
So this aunt is on my dad's side.
Oh,
My
okay.
cousins, I primarily hang out with, are on my mother's side, but she has crossed over and is invited to some of their events as well now in the last 3 years or so. So they are close to her as well. So she is at some gatherings, some weddings.
You said that you do want to continue seeing a therapist, but one that works on EMDR specifically. What do you hope to gain from EMDR type of treatment?
So for me, I've done a lot of work in terms of the talk therapy traditional treatment with my childhood trauma. But I do have a lot of memories that I can't remember. Even certain years that I feel are completely blocked. My family will bring up memories of, they can even be good memories, and I just don't remember certain time frames. So I've heard over the years that EMDR helps you kind of unlock those memories, and just work on trauma on a deeper level, because there may be some subconscious things that happen that I'm not aware of because I can't remember certain parts of my childhood. So I would just like to access those and go a little bit deeper.
Tell us about your work with the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. What specifically do you do there?
So there I work at a parole office in Victorville. So everyone that's in our jurisdiction who has had some sort of mental health contact, either in jail or prison, they get automatically connected to us. We do an initial assessment, and then we typically will keep them on our caseload. It can be months at a time, it can be years at a time. We basically it's all types of criminal backgrounds. We do have a lot of sex offenders in our GPS unit, so they are on parole longer. So we typically will have them for a longer period of time. There we do mostly case management, so we're helping connect them to services once they come out. It's very difficult for them trying to figure out what to do once they're out. They have a lot of things thrown at them that they have to follow for parole. So we help them with that. We help connect them to our psychiatrist and our pharmacy that delivers medication to them. We are there if they want supportive services or therapy. But typically with our population, they don't like to open up and talk about things. So it's been very rare where clients will, but I have had clients that do take the therapy aspect of it. So that's mostly what we do. We just, support them on the mental health side. And then also we do have clients that are coming out of that program that I mentioned, the MAT program, that they come out still needing Suboxone. So we connect them to resources in the community as well.
Does any aspect of your job involve a clinical element where you're providing clinical care to them? Therapeutic care?
Yeah, so the assessment process, and then we have to either hold the diagnosis that they had while they were inside or previous diagnosis that they received before prison or jail, or we give them a new diagnosis just depending on what they're presenting with.
And that's part of the assessment.
That's part of the assessment, yes.
And this is a population you said that's on parole, so they're not currently housed inmates.
No, so they're all on parole. Once within the first week that they are released from prison, and then sometimes we do have jail walkovers, which means they never did prison time. They were just granted to stay in county, and then they still have to do parole. So within the first week, they do come to our office and they start their journey on parole.
How long have you held this position?
This November will be 3 years.
So this was something that you pursued after your arrest?
Yes.
Okay. Prior to that, what type of work were you doing?
So prior, I was at the county of Riverside, and I was working with children and families. I worked there for a little bit over 2 years, and that was right when I received my ASW. I was working in the county prior to my ASW, so before that, I was working with the housing and homeless population. So once I received my number, I switched over to children and family, and I completed all my hours there.
Right.
Once I received my license, then I wanted to go into the state and transition to this population. So then that's how I made it. That's how I made the transition.
In your statement, you said that this population was a big draw for you because of your own journey, and you realized that change can be made. Was there something that drew you to this job even prior to that?
Yeah, so before that, I always kind of grew up wanting to be in law enforcement. So I did that in my late 20s. So I was at the state with juveniles as a correctional counselor. Did that for 2 years. Quickly discovered that the punitive side wasn't for me. I met my best friend at the academy, and she introduced me to social work. Prior to that, I thought social work was just child protective services. So she explained that there's so many more things that LCSWs are able to do. So that summer when I went into working in the prison, that's when I started my master's program.
Your partner is a support system for you, and she said that in her letter, she says she met you after your DUI, but before your probation started. So she has not seen you in a circumstance where you were binge drinking and, going through what you've come through.
Mm.
How do you anticipate her role in being able to support you if you do struggle at one point to maintain that sobriety?
Mhm. Well, for her journey as well, she, we reviewed our past together, and she also went through that period where she used alcohol to cope from separation of the father of the kids that was, abusive, and so we kind of had similar journeys. I think we both are very different than who we were before we met. So we communicate a lot, we process a lot, and we've just done a lot of changes to maintain that lifestyle that we've built. So I feel that we support each other in everything. So I support her with her therapy. She supports me in mine. Like I said, we stay active. We have goals that we accomplish. She just did a half marathon Sunday, and we were there. We each have individual things that we're going to accomplish. We got back to our spirituality together about 2 years ago. We tried to go to our friend's church, but that didn't work for us because of our what people call our lifestyle that's different than the norm. So we choose to more just do our spirituality without the church aspect. But there's a lot of things that we have developed together, and I don't see us going back to that lifestyle. That's not something that either of us want. So it's for us individually, us together, and then, like I said in my statement, for our kids as well.
Have you, do you have a relapse prevention plan that you have in mind if probation is terminated early?
Mhm. I don't have anything in writing, but with my aunt, we do talk about just in general, if there's ever moments where I think about drinking or what would happen if that happened. I'm sorry, what would happen if, I chose to go back to drinking. Typically, I speak to my aunt regularly, and if there's any situations or triggers, it's more family gatherings is when, she will check in with me afterwards and ask me how it was. And I think for me, I choose to continue to be around my family, the same family that I grew up with and that are very close to me. To me, that's more of a testament to how much I've changed and how I'm able to be around that situation, because we can't avoid things in life, and I choose not to. I just choose to walk a little bit differently. So for me, it's more of a testament that I can be there in family gatherings the same way that I was before, without the element of alcohol. I no longer hide in my shell, and I no longer need something to bring me out of that. I can hold conversations. I can interact. I can dance at weddings. I can just be who I am. So for me, it's more reflecting and processing those situations. But now, 4 years later, I don't have the thoughts of, it's not weird to me to not have a drink in my hand, or when my cousins are doing like a group shot, or, it's not, I don't feel like not part of it anymore. It feels normal to me to just be off to the side and not partake in the alcohol part of it.
Thank you.
Mm.
I don't have any other questions.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Ms. Crawford. And before I go to our board member questions, it's come to my attention that there may be another exhibit that you wish to offer, a letter by Scott Bellifoyle, and it's spelled SCOTTB. Oh.
That's for a different case.
Okay. That makes sense to me because in fact, this exhibit was not uploaded to Case Center and was, but board staff insisted that this is part of this case. So that's why I wanted to raise it on the record with her, because I wasn't aware of this exhibit. We will set this exhibit aside and deal with it in another petition hearing. Thank you, Ms. Crawford. You didn't do anything wrong. I think there was a misunderstanding with some staff members. And thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt your petition with this.
Oh, you're fine.
Thank you. I'm going to turn it over now to board members, because they are the ones, although I'm presiding over the hearing, I won't be making the decision. They make the decision. So it's really important we get their questions answered. I'm going to go from one side. I'm going to start on the left this time, and then for other petitions, we'll go the other way around just to keep it up. So Ms. Thies, do you have any questions for the
I
petitioner?
do. I would like to ask Ms. Medeiros a question. However, I didn't hear something that Ms. Crawford said. Can I ask her for a clarification?
Absolutely.
Okay. So the first question that you asked, the answer was in March of this year, but I didn't hear your full question.
I believe it is when the criminal probation
Oh.
ended.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
Just to be clear, that was just for the petitioner, that your criminal probation ended, I have March 2026. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you so much. Did that address your question?
Yes, thank you.
All right, go ahead.
I really appreciate your thorough testimony today. I particularly appreciate how you addressed what ending probation early would mean for you and for the population that you serve, and what having an unrestricted license would provide for you and the population that you serve. I would like to ask you a little bit more about the coping mechanisms and healthy lifestyle that you've mentioned a number of times throughout your testimony. I've heard you talk about running and other healthy activities, bringing your own non-alcoholic beverages to family gatherings. Are there others that you would like to talk about? And if not, that's okay. But I did want to probe and see if there were more specific mechanisms or things you do to cope.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah, so one of the things that I really do in general when, as I mentioned, I'm typically hard on myself. That's kind of something that I've had since I was a kid. So when I'm faced with something that, when I finally see it, right, and it took the accident and the DUI for me to see my relationship with alcohol. So once I finally saw that, my mind usually, I go into overdrive of how do I learn about it? How do I correct it? How can I change that mistake and make sure it doesn't happen? So I started to throw myself into podcasts. Reading was another thing. I follow an LMFT. She does a podcast, Katie Morton. I read her books as well. So podcasts help me even to this day. I listen to her podcast regularly, and every week is a different topic, but I still listen to them because I feel that we can all relate to them somehow. So that helps me process. Journaling, to be honest, I try it. As you can see, I write. I'd rather articulate through writing, but I'm not the best at being, I guess, keeping it up in a regular basis, but I do come back to journaling periodically. I'm more of a verbal processor with people that I trust, such as my aunt, my partner, other cousins that I'm very close to, my brother. Um, I also do just internal processing a lot. I sit with my emotions a lot and my thoughts. Um, so I would say that's probably my number one thing. Just kind of replaying certain things, replaying things that I've learned or things that I want to learn, things that I need to kind of tie back to my childhood or why I did certain things. So I process a lot. The with activity, mostly what I've tried to do is just stay active, commit more to going to the gym regularly. Currently, I live in Victorville, so there's a really awesome cycle studio that I found, and I started last May. So I have a monthly membership for that. So I go sometimes mornings and afternoons. It just depends how my week looks. But I really love it there. It's small. It's everyone knows each other. It's community. And like I said, we recently started where we're picking up running with more intention, where we're signing up for runs, hiking. Every year I do a Tough Mudder run with my brother, so we're doing that in September. But mainly doing things that challenge me mentally and emotionally. I think is the biggest thing, and doing it without replacement or without alcohol is very different in the last 4 years, where you have to sit with all of your emotions and all your feelings and all of your thoughts, and there isn't something to depend on, and that's actually the lifestyle that I love now, that I'm able to do that instead of avoid like I was for a long time.
Thank you. No further questions.
Ms. Friedman, do you have any questions?
I do. Good morning. Thank you so much for your testimony this morning. It's very, very interesting, and what you're doing is interesting. I'm curious what your sobriety date is.
So it's actually the day that I was booked. So the next day after my crash, so the 29th of January, 2022.
And if you were to be granted early termination of probation, would you continue with your therapy?
Yes. So therapy, in terms of the therapist I have now, we've discussed transitioning to a new therapist who specializes in EMDR. So she's aware of that I do want to transition eventually to EMDR. And that's because, as I stated before, I have done talk therapy for my childhood trauma, but there are, I would say, a lot of memories that I don't remember. Certain years out of my life that I don't remember. There's like chunks or blocks. Family members will bring up certain memories, whether good or bad, and I don't remember them. So I do feel and believe that it's because of my defense mechanism for childhood trauma. So I want to try EMDR because I've heard that it can unlock some of those memories, and I do want to remember, but also work on that on a deeper level.
So are you talking about doing EMDR for yourself or learning it so you can use it with your clients?
Oh, that would be for me, for myself.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Walker.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Ms. Medeiros. We appreciate your testimony this morning. You've given us a great opportunity to observe you, not only to hear what you've had to say, but also to see your emotions arise when questions were brought up in regards to your family history with alcoholism, who you are within that framework of your family. I could feel the emotion behind your tears. And I would be remiss if I didn't also say that I think I saw you crack a little bit of a smile too when we start talking about the work that you do, that you've done over many, well, several years in choosing this career. So I want to acknowledge that and let you know that we appreciate who you are and what you've done thus far. This has been a journey for you.
Yes.
It's been a journey.
Yeah.
And I guess, would you say that this incident has been pivotal for you as far as you, in your own words, gaining a deeper self-awareness of your relationship with alcohol?
Mm. Yes. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. But yeah, definitely, it was very pivotal, like life-changing, just the fact that it happened. In the first year, I had the mentality of just disbelief, and everyone who knew me at that point were also shocked that I was the cousin that got behind the wheel, because that was never my nature. We've known people in our life or in our family that they would drink and always grab their keys, or so dealing with that was very hard for me. But once I got past that, and just gave myself grace, then yeah, I was able to see just how pivotal everything was, and really sit and look at the relationship that I had with alcohol. I think for so long we, as a family, normalized it. And as an individual, I had to break away from that and really just become separate in a way. It's like I'm separate, but I'm not. I still feel part of them. I still do all of the things. Actually, today I'm driving back to SoCal, Southern California, to get on a plane and go to Mexico for my cousin's wedding. So, I'm still very much part of the normal family gatherings, but just in a different way. So now sometimes I sit at family gatherings and I just think, for those cousins that are still doing the same thing that I was doing 4 years ago, I typically don't say things out loud because I don't want them to feel like I'm putting my lifestyle on them. To each their own, but I do feel on a deeper level like I care for them, to where I hope they do start to change their relationship with alcohol. Maybe not to the extent that I have, but maybe to some degree. It does impact us in many ways that we can't see, even internally, mentally. So yeah, it's changed my life completely. And like I said, the person that I was 4 years ago is definitely not who I am now. But I'm also very proud of that. So yeah, it's probably the most pivotal moment for me.
Yeah, your actions and behaviors do describe how you have been reinventing yourself, one of my favorite words, in the past 4 years here. So just two specific questions. How has this probation hindered or helped you to, or even served you in continuing this reinvention of yourself and self-care? And self-awareness of this, again, within your family and yourself, alcohol abuse. So how has this probation touched that?
I think in terms of with my family, it's, initially after my accident, everyone was kind of, we were all in shock, and it took us time. But then shortly after, some of my family members were like, okay, well, you can drink now, right? Like, you're not, like, it's fine. So it was a lot of explaining, like, this is what I'm doing for me. I don't want to do that anymore. My closest, because we have a big family. My mom has 12 siblings. So my closest cousins, they understood, they get it, they were supportive. Cousins that I don't see as often, they still would ask me when I would see them, are you drinking now? And I would just, say no. So once probation hit, I think it was a little bit easier for me to say, oh, I can't because of, my job or my license. I struggled to explain it because it's difficult to explain LCSW or LMFT or kind of the world that we're in to some people, because it's a long journey to get to this point. So I think it made it easier when I was explaining that this is just something that I'm doing. For me personally, it helped structure things. I'm pretty structured in general, but it just made it a little bit more of a structure and something that I was deciding to learn from. So it wasn't like, hey, I need to do this therapy. It was, I had therapy the year before. Now I'm just transitioning to a new therapist, and we're going to get what I can out of it. So it was more of learning how I'm going to benefit from the requirements of probation, and also making sure that I was doing everything I needed to do on a daily basis with a little bit of anxiety. So.
I don't want to read into this, but given what you just said, do I hear you saying that you openly discuss with your family the arrest, the whole background to this, and how it impacted your licensing and your work?
Yes, so most of my family knew the arrest. I mean, I was there with, wasn't that many of us actually, it was only 5 of us. But we have a big family, and usually the news spreads fast. It was something that was kept pretty well, but once I was ready, I would tell everybody individually, have that conversation with them, process it out, had to deal with their reactions of, oh my God, like no way. And, so, but yeah, once we got past that, then I would try to attempt to explain things to people in terms of, because we are licensed, now I have to do X, Y, and Z. A lot of people would confuse it and thought it was still a court. So oftentimes I would just let them kind of believe whatever they wanted so that I wouldn't have to keep explaining. So I'd say there's a handful of people that really understand the whole process.
Right. And I'm leading up to my last question here. I'm just trying to really get a bigger picture of what I'm working with here when the board gets back to discuss this. So given who we understand who you are within your family, was there any guilt or shame when you share this information with your family and friends?
For me?
Mhm.
Oh yeah. I think the first year was the hardest. I'm my hardest critic, so I usually tell people there's nothing that you can tell me that I haven't already told myself. So it was the hardest to just forgive myself. I felt guilt and shame speaking to my family about it initially. A lot of their reactions, they were surprised, but they immediately were supportive and said, you made a mistake and could have been any one of us. And so they were very quick to turn their surprise into, okay, well, it happened and we're going to support you. And they would be the ones to tell me to stop being so hard on myself. But I really struggled with that for, I'm going to guess, probably the first year. But that was more just me, my own internal struggle of guilt and shame.
I'm seeing you smile. I'm doing something good here.
Yeah. I was nervous.
And I'm just about done. So given this journey has been a lifetime for you, okay, but this pivotal moment has been very short,
Right.
4 years. So do you personally consider yourself a threat to consumers?
Sorry, what's a threat to?
Consumers,
Oh,
your clients?
no.
Your clients, okay.
And I think that's something that I struggle so much with is, I never see myself as a threat to anyone, and, whether it's physically or mentally or emotionally. So once that day happened, I struggled a lot with the thought of I could have hurt somebody. Um, so I think that was for me the hardest part. Um, as I said, my cousin owns that cabin and he rents it out, so I chose to go back there shortly after, I think a few months later, kind of like my own exposure therapy, I guess. But if you guys are familiar with Arrowhead, as soon as you get off the 15 in San Bernardino, there's like a 15-minute curvy road. If I wouldn't have crashed where I did, I would have went down that 15-minute curvy road where there's openings, there's cliffs, there's oncoming traffic. So driving that the first few months after was hard. And I've been up there a handful of times since then, and it's always difficult because I do sit there and I think about what could have happened. So it's something that I'll always carry. But yeah, it's definitely the one thing that's most important to me, that I didn't harm anyone else that day.
Thank you, Ms. Medeiros.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Sovek, thank you.
Thank you. First of all, thank you so much for sharing this. I know it's a challenging experience, and it's also weird sitting in this room with us up here. So I just want to say that we are here just to discover as much information as we can. If you are okay, I would like to go back to Lake Arrowhead and the canyon or the cabin a little bit. In your application process, you mentioned the words are, I drank with family at cabin in Lake Arrowhead until the point where I blacked out. I was falling asleep and proceeded to wake up and drive my car home. If you can travel back into that time, I know it was about 4 years ago, can you help me understand a little bit better the decision-making process or lack of it that happened in that moment where you went from blackout to waking up and deciding to drive your car?
Yes, I actually don't remember getting up. My cousin, so the rooms are upstairs, but I was sleeping downstairs in the living room couch. So my cousin told me that we were all going to bed. She said, I saw you lay down, and I went up the stairs, so I assumed you were here. And the next thing I know, the cops are calling me to go to where you're at. So in terms of me remembering physically grabbing my keys and leaving, I don't remember that part. What I do remember is when I hit, that's when I woke up essentially and realized that I was in my car, that I have crashed. There was glass everywhere. And that was kind of the daze that I was in, trying to figure out what happened. So yeah, that's.
So you've talked in your testimony about having a much deeper understanding of binge drinking and the process of actual like substance use. Would you suggest that you were potentially still in a blackout state when you rose up in the middle of the night and got in your car?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
'Cause I don't remember. I'm not even sure when the last drink was that I had. I know at some point we were around the kitchen table. I know we stopped early that night, just because it was a day thing where we were drinking during the day as well. So I know that I'm not sure when the arrest was and the accident, but I know it was pretty early in the night, maybe like between 8 and 9. So I do remember we were in the kitchen, we were still drinking. That's the last memory that I have.
Okay. I'm also curious about your, I guess I would call it sobriety net, in relationships. Because as I'm listening to your testimony, I hear that a lot of your support people are family members. At the same time, in listening to your testimony, I also hear that a lot of your triggers are family members and family history. Can you help expand that story and help me understand better how this support system is working in the middle of a family that triggers you?
Mhm. Um, I wouldn't say my family like triggers me to drink. My dad was an alcoholic, so I never really had that great a relationship with him. So I would say that I would consider him a trigger. Not so much to drink. I always had the mentality of I didn't want to be like him, but here we are. So it kind of, that's why I'm the hardest on myself as well because of the situation. Um, and we've repaired or attempting to repair our relationship now that he's been sober for, I'm not sure how many years, but a while now. But in terms of my support systems triggering me, I wouldn't say that they're a trigger. I would say that the environments initially were for me, to where I more had to figure out how to be without alcohol, because that's what we knew, that's what we grew up with since I was 19, 20. In high school, I was very straight edge because I was an athlete, and that was my mentality, and I never did any of that, even though, in our culture, people start drinking at like 16, 17 and family parties. But once I did, 19, 20, that's when it just became normal. So in terms of their support, I mean, like I said, initially after the crash, after the incident, I was very hard on myself, and they were instantly supportive. But it was more, how do I function in a world where every gathering, even Easter, is drinking, right? So, and it's just normalized. So that was more of what I needed to figure out for myself. And I personally think that it's more of a testament to who I am and the changes that I've made, because I can be in those spaces still, just as much as I was before, but in a very different mindset, in a very different way. And now my family knows that and understands that, and they don't ask me if I want to drink. They know that even if I'm off probation, that that's not my journey anymore. So they understand that this is who I am, and my personality hasn't changed. It's just I've learned how to not depend on alcohol. So I'll be off to the side while they are doing their shots, and it's totally normal now on both ends.
Thank you. So outside of your aunt and your partner, who are like 3 people that you use as part of your support system for your sobriety?
Mm. I mean, I have, I think, a handful of people, but I do speak to my brother a lot. He's always been like kind of the voice of reason. He grew up in the same family dynamic, but once he had kids, him and his wife changed a lot, so they don't really drink like that anymore. So I speak to him often. We also do, physical activity often. I'm always at my niece and nephew's hockey games. I have a few cousins that we've always had deep conversations and processed through things in life. One is Ulysses, and the other one's OJ. My 2 friends that I met in the county, one's LMFT, Selena, and the other one is LCSW, Monica. Monica's always been sober. She's very involved in her Christian faith. So I've actually, one of the first trips I had after my accident was Vegas with them, and that was very interesting because was the first Vegas trip where I didn't have a drink in my hand. I didn't really know how to walk without one. And as I was having these internal thoughts, I would process that with them. Selena also rarely, I would say, drinks. She didn't drink on that trip either. And we would tell her, you can, it's fine. And she's like, no, I don't really want to. So having those conversations in real time as it was happening was helpful. And I meet with them once. We try to do once a month. We all have things going on, families. But we text regularly. I also have a group of 3 friends from middle school that we still text a lot during the week. We all live in different areas now, but we do try to meet once a year, and they're very supportive as well. I've always been able to be vulnerable with them and just explain certain things that I was going through, and they've always been really supportive and understanding. So I would say I have a lot of different support systems that are supportive in different ways, who have known me in different different times in my life, and who offer different kind of ideas and support and conversations.
Okay, cool. Final thought, fellow spin addict here. So just
Oh.
join you in the spin fanatic world. Okay. And good luck on the marathon.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Uribe?
Okay, hello. So it sounds like you have a lot of people that are supportive for you, and you did mention your aunt being kind of a sponsor. Do you officially have a sponsor?
No, that's why I put unofficial, because I just see her as my sponsor.
Okay. So you've been attending AA meetings, I believe it's twice a week.
Yes.
Is there, sorry?
Online, sorry.
Okay, online. Okay. Is there any particular step that stands out to you?
For me, I think the ones that I focus more on now are the last 2, which is, sorry, I have it here, which is the kind of the service part. And that's why it's important for me to transition to the other program within the state and work on a more direct basis with our clients and population that are in their like contemplation stage of substance use. Right now, the clients that we receive, they already have gone through that program inside, and they're coming out needing to be connected to their medication. But this program that I would want to transition to, it's meeting them at the state where they're struggling the most with it, and kind of seeing their journey, helping them get into that program. So I think that's the most important part of the AA process that I focus on now, is the service aspect of it, now that I've gone through the full part or the full steps. So just keeping that with me at all times, basically, in the career that I have. So in a sense, I'm always going to stay on that kind of step of service and paying it forward and taking what I've learned to the community that I work with.
As far as the AA meetings, you said that you're going online. Do you plan to continue going to AA meetings once probation's over, or?
For me, I think, as I mentioned before, what I get most out of is the individual interactions that I have with my aunt. That's where I get the most insight. So for me, that's the most important element to maintain. I do want to, at some point, check out in-person AA meetings. Probably not as consistent as what I do now because it's online, but I am curious to see what an in-person one looks like. I only have that explanation from my aunt because she would do in-person throughout the years. So she's explained kind of how that works. But I do like in-person element more, but because of scheduling and everything, I chose to do online for now.
Okay. think this, well, my last question is, you mentioned that you want to do EMDR, and is there like a preferred amount of therapy that you would choose if you could have a choice? Like a number of days or in weeks or months?
I'm not sure.
Let's see.
I've I've spoken to two people in the past. So one, I used to work with her in the county. She was the first one that told me about EMDR and kind of her process through it. The second is my current coworker. So she did it with a therapist that's actually local to where we live. So she explained it as initially they do an assessment to see if you're ready to kind of undergo that intense type of therapy. And then I believe hers was once a week. So my assumption is that it would be similar once a week, which would be fine with me to start off on.
Okay, I think that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Bailey?
Thank you very much for your deeply thoughtful and compelling testimony today. I appreciate it, and I have no further questions.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And last but not least, Mr. Ranasinghe?
Thank you. I have no further questions, and I appreciate your testimony.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let me just make sure if none of the board members have any additional questions, just raise your hand for me. I don't see any additional questions. Thank you so much for answering all of those questions. Ms. Crawford, are you satisfied? Anything else from you?
Yes, I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Thank you. We really appreciate your time and testimony today. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we conclude your petition hearing?
No, I'd just like to say thank you to everyone. I was very nervous before this, and when I submitted my packet, I was not aware it was going to be in person. So that was scary. But you've all been very nice and welcoming, and I appreciate that. Because like you said, it can be very very daunting to sit before everyone, but everyone was very nice. And even before that, there's people in the room that welcomed all of us and told us to just breathe, and so that was helpful. So thank you to everyone. I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. At this time, the record is closed and the matter is submitted for decision, and we can go off the record in this matter. Madam Court Reporter, if you could just give us the end time and page count for the forum. You go ahead, ask for whatever spellings you need. Oh, can you turn on your mic? Sorry. Yeah, thank you.
Now, can you, okay, the spellings of drugs, I think one was methadone, and then you mentioned two others.
Yes. Oh, so methadone, METHADONE.
Yeah.
Vivitrol, VIVITROL.
Okay.
And Suboxone, SUBOXONE.
And then the podcast, you mentioned a name of someone that.
Katie Morton. KATIMORTON. And she's a LMFT and author.
Okay, that's it.
Thank you very much. We're going to take a 10-minute break before our next petition. It's 10:19, so let's come back at 10:30. Thanks. Oh, it has to be 15 minutes? All right, then let's do 10:35. All right, welcome back, everyone. We're going to move on to our next petition. Madam Court Reporter, are you ready for us to go on the record?
Yeah.
Perfect, and I see both parties are ready as well. Great. All right. We are on the record before the Board of Behavioral Sciences, Department of Consumer Affairs, State of California, and we're going to review our second petition of the day, which is a petition for early termination of probation by Louise Martin Hernandez. And this is OAH case number 2026 040636. And the license number is LCSW 100831. My name is Wim Van Rooyen, spelled W-I-M space V-A-N space R-O-O-Y-E-N. I'm an administrative law judge with the Office of Administrative Hearings for the State of California, and I've been assigned to preside over this matter. Today's date is May 7th, 2026, noticed for hearing at 8:30 a.m. It's currently 10:41 a.m. We are conducting this matter in person and via WebEx video conference. Let me have the board members that are present identify themselves for the record, and I'll have our staff member take that roll call again. Thank you.
Kelly Ranasinghe,
Present, public member.
Dr. Annette Walker,
Present, public board member.
Eleanor Uribe,
Present LCSW member.
Rebecca Thies,
Present public member.
John Sovek,
Present LMFT.
Susan Friedman,
Present public member.
Lorez Bailey.
Present public member.
Thank you so much. I do find that we have a quorum present to hear the petition. Let me start with our identification of the court reporter, please.
Good morning, Maria Esquivel Parkinson, CSR number 10621.
Thank you so much. And the appearance of the Attorney General.
Anahita Crawford, Deputy Attorney General, appearing on behalf of the Attorney General pursuant to Government Code Section 11522, representing the people of the state of California. I am here to assist the panel in fact-finding and to ensure, and my role is non-adversarial, but intended to protect the public interest.
Thank you so much, Ms. Crawford. And last but not least, sir, if the petitioner, if you could just state and spell your name for the record, please.
Sure thing. Louis Martin Hernandez, Luis Martin Hernandez.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hernandez. So just in terms of the procedures for the hearing, first we'll have our Deputy Attorney General introduce the petition exhibits for us and then provide us with an orientation of the procedural history in your case, not to relitigate things that happened in the past, but just to give it in context for the board so we know what brought us here today. After that, you will have the right to make you will have the opportunity to make a presentation under oath and explain to us why you believe the petition should be granted. Again, you may assume that the board members have already reviewed your petition packet and materials, and so you don't need to necessarily repeat everything that's in there, but you're welcome to highlight or emphasize portions that you think are particularly important. You will also have the right to call any witnesses if you have any. And let me ask you, sir, did you bring any witnesses other than yourself to testify today?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. And then so after you testify, you'll be subject to questioning by the Deputy Attorney General as well as by the board members present here today. The board is particularly concerned with the rehabilitation efforts you might have been engaged in. So that's really the main focus of the hearing. You won't get a decision today. At the hearing, the board will go into a closed session after we've heard all the petitions today, and then we'll deliberate, and then you'll get a written decision at some point in the future. All right, did you have any questions for us before we proceed?
No questions.
Thank you very much. I'm now going to turn it over to you, Ms. Crawford, to present the petition exhibits and provide us with a procedural history of the case. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. The first exhibit is the notice of hearing, marked as pages A1 through A7. I would like to mark and introduce that at this time.
And sir, I'll be asking you each time if you have an objection to a particular exhibit. It doesn't need to be a formal legal objection. You can just tell me if you have a concern. After hearing from you and Ms. Crawford, I'll make a determination if it's a properly legally recognized objection. Do you have any objection to Exhibit 1?
No objection.
Thank you. Exhibit 1 is admitted.
Exhibit 2 is the board memorandum of case summary from uh, probation monitor Sabrina Barrera Ibarra. Would like to mark and introduce that as Exhibit 2. It is contained on A8 through A9.
Any objection to Exhibit 2?
No objection.
Thank you, sir. Exhibit 2 is admitted.
Exhibit 3 is the license history certification for the petitioner on page A10. I'd like to mark and introduce that at this time.
Any objection to Exhibit 3?
No objection.
Thank you. Exhibit 3 is admitted.
Exhibit 4 is the petition for early termination of probation that was filed by the petitioner, contained on pages A11 through A16. I'd like to mark and introduce that.
Any objection to Exhibit 4?
No objection.
Thank you. Exhibit 4 is admitted.
Exhibit 5 contains the continuing education certificates submitted by the petitioner in support of his petition. They're contained on pages A17 through A26. I'd like to mark and introduce those as Exhibit 5.
Any objection to Exhibit 5?
No objection.
Thank you. Exhibit 5 is admitted.
Exhibit 6 contains work performance reports that were submitted by the petitioner. They're contained on page A27 through A39. I'd like to mark and introduce those as Exhibit 6.
Any objection to 6?
No objection.
Thank you. Exhibit 6 is admitted.
Exhibit 7 are dependency support group documents filed by the petitioner in support of his petition, contained on pages A40 through A77. I would like to mark and introduce this as Exhibit 7.
Any objection to 7?
No objection.
Thank you. Exhibit 7 is admitted.
Exhibit 8 is a psychotherapy information sheet, and it is contained on pages A78 through A80. I would like to mark and introduce these under seal. There is some confidential information therein, and introduce this as Exhibit 8.
Thank you. Any objection to Exhibit 8 being admitted?
No objection.
Thank you. And sir, just do you understand what means by the request to seal? It means that because certain information is protected under law, such as psychological evaluation or reports from general disclosure, generally this is a public proceeding, but certain information such as that qualify for protection. I'm assuming you don't have any objection to sealing these records in Exhibit 8.
No objection.
Thank you very much. Then the motion to seal will be granted. A protective order will accompany the exhibit packet that will seal Exhibit 8. Thank you, Ms. Crawford.
Thank you, Your Honor. And to specify, it is page A78 through A80.
Thank you very much.
Exhibit 9 are miscellaneous documents. These are on pages A81 through A86. It contains the conviction record of the petitioner, Title 16, Section 1814 of the California Code of Regulations pertaining to rehabilitation factors, and also contain a receipt for a compliance payment to the board. I'd like to mark and introduce these as Exhibit 9.
Any objection to Exhibit 9?
No objection.
Thank you. Exhibit 9 is admitted.
And Exhibit 10 contains the underlying disciplinary documents in this matter. I'd like to mark and introduce these as Exhibit 10. They are contained on pages A87 through A107.
Any objection to Exhibit 10?
No objection.
Thank you. Exhibit 10 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. With that, I will proceed to providing a procedural background of the matter. The board issued the petitioner a licensed clinical social worker license on March 29th of 2021, and that will expire on March 31st of 2027. On June 22nd of 2023, an accusation was filed against the petitioner, which resulted in a settlement adopted by the board effective February 1, 2024. The petitioner was placed on probation for 5 years. The accusation was filed because on July 19th of 2020, petitioner drove while intoxicated with an actual blood alcohol content of 0.36%. Petitioner was observed by a Clovis police officer driving recklessly, striking the center median several times, driving into another lane, and striking numerous road signs and cones. He was convicted of driving under the influence on August 3rd of 2021 and placed on 3 years of criminal probation.
Petitioner's board probation includes monthly psychotherapy, 3 to 8 times a month of biological fluid testing, twice a week dependency support program attendance, substance abuse education, cost recovery, and reimbursement of the probation program. Petitioner is fully compliant with all aspects of his probation. The petitioner's probation is projected to end on January 31st of 2029. Petitioner is requesting early termination of probation with a little less than half his probationary period still remaining. Because the burden is on the petitioner, I have no further statements, but I would reserve the right to question the petitioner.
Thank you very much, Ms. Crawford. All right, Mr. Hernandez, thank you so much for being here. Now is your opportunity to present your evidence. Would you like to testify today?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to swear you in if you could raise your right hand. Do you solemnly state under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. And just to remind you, the board has already had the benefit of reviewing your packet, but you're welcome to add or highlight anything you think is important. Because you don't have an attorney to ask you questions, I will just let you testify freely in a conversational format. Once you're done, Ms. Crawford will have questions for you, and the board members may have questions for you. And again, just be mindful of our court reporter not going too fast. I know it's very normal to be nervous in these settings, so just take a deep breath. And I would add, if there's any unusual, if you mention names or if you could give the spelling for that, that would really help the court reporter as well. With that said, sir, thank you so much. You can start.
Thank you so much, Your Honor. Thank you, board. Thank you all staff that made this hearing possible, and the Deputy Attorney General. I greatly appreciate the opportunity to have my petition for early termination probation heard today. I did write down some thoughts just to keep myself on track here. And of course, yes, this is nerve-wracking, and I've definitely been breathing plenty here. As already mentioned, those are the facts that brought me to the attention of the board and the subsequent disciplinary action taken against my license. I did those things. I violated my responsibility and duty to maintain my fitness for practice and promote public safety as an LCSW. As a result of my actions, my license was revoked, and I'm extremely grateful for that opportunity of probation. I especially thank my probation analyst for helping me navigate through this process. Initially, it was very intimidating, and I appreciated that support. It's my goal today just to demonstrate to the board my successful rehabilitation from the person I was that day I was arrested on July 19th of 2020, and how I've been restored through therapeutic means to an improved condition of physical, emotional, and mental function, to a person that is of an alcohol-free state of mind, body, and soul, and that embraces this new life of recovery. My sobriety date is 9/8/2020. As of today, I have 5 years and 7 months of continuous sobriety, and tomorrow will be 5 years and 8 months. This recovery from a hopeless state of mind was extremely difficult, and I recognize could have been even fatal. I don't say that for dramatic effect, but I truly believe if I did not get sober, I was destined to an alcoholic death or hospitalization or institutionalization. As reported on July 19, 2020, I consumed alcohol in excess and placed the public and myself at risk of physical harm by drinking and driving recklessly. Sorry. At that time, I was struggling with my alcoholism and the consequences of my behavior. I was experiencing marital, financial, and emotional issues, and despite attending AA meetings for the year prior and seeking additional help, I continued to flounder. I was the barrier. My thinking and attitude towards obtaining continuous sobriety held me back. I did not fully give all of myself to my recovery, and I was not being fully honest with myself and others. I held reservations as to what I thought was best. I continued to trust my thinking and judgment with a matter that I was very ill-equipped to assess. I had no perspective, and I can see now how I was self-serving. For example, when a recovery program initially recommended inpatient treatment, I told them no. I made excuses why I could not enter treatment, such as I needed to work, as we were in the early throes of the COVID pandemic, and I needed to be on the ICU to support patients' families and colleagues. I understand now that I felt awful about the person I had become, and my only redemption was in the work I did. I see now how my motives were misguided, and the proper response and ethical duty was to address my personal issues. Today, I conduct myself drastically different, as I often take time to pray and meditate, seek counsel from my sponsor, wife, therapist, friends. Sorry. Seek counsel from my sponsor, wife, therapist, friends, and colleagues before taking actions, like filing my petition for early termination. I am very pleased to inform you they were all in support of my pursuing this endeavor. However, back in July of 2020, I did eventually enter treatment after my DUI arrest and completed a 30-day inpatient treatment program. But I continued to be my own worst enemy. I lied about my last drink prior to entering treatment. Despite my desire to stay sober, I had already set myself up for failure with my own thinking. Moreover, I set the terms of how long I would be in treatment and counted the days down to when I would be discharged. I missed the forest for the trees and continued to be very much full of self. When I returned home, I returned to being plagued with being full of self-pity, self-will, self-reliance, self-seeking, feelings of shame, guilt, and remorse. I was caught up in morbid reflection and found myself just as disconnected as I was before entering treatment. I quickly relapsed upon returning home. For the next 2 weeks, I continued my downward spiral. By the grace of God and help of friends and family, I was given another moment of clarity. And in that pivotal moment, I chose life. September 7, 2020 would be the day of my last drink. And the following day would be the first day of a new life. As far as my rehabilitation efforts, on September 9th, I entered treatment with Northbound Intensive Residential Treatment Program and completed 44 days. The completion letter has been included with my packet. It was in this setting that a foundation was laid that I would be able to continue to build my current sober life. I am forever grateful to the peers and staff that helped me along the way in that early phase of sobriety. Upon discharge, I was medically cleared to return back to work. I entered intensive outpatient 4 nights a week, resumed attending AA meetings, working with my sponsor, and also began the first-time offender 3-month DUI program. I completed intensive outpatient on February 2nd and subsequently completed the DUI program. Throughout this time, I regularly attended AA meetings and worked the steps with my sponsor. On August 3rd, after numerous continuances due to the COVID pandemic, the court agreed to the settlement between my attorney and the Fresno County DA's office, and I pled no contest to the aforementioned crime that was discussed already. I adhered and completed all requirements of my probation, and on August 4th, 2024, my term of probation ended. I have had no involvement with law enforcement or the criminal justice system since then. Not even a parking ticket, a fix-it ticket, or pulled over and let go with a warning. Since getting sober, I continue to remain active in AA, attending at least 5 meetings a week. My home group is the Sierra Fellowship in Clovis, California. I regularly attend every morning, Monday through Friday. They're also part of my family now. I completed working the 12 steps with my sponsor, and to maintain my sobriety, continue to practice 12 steps principles of AA. I've also been involved in service commitments in AA, secretary meetings, assisting with events, sponsoring other members through the 12 steps, participating on hospital and institution panels, and doing speaker meetings. I've also included, or the board has received a letter from my sponsor today to also support my early termination. Professionally, I continue to remain employed with Community Regional Medical Center. It's a level 1 trauma in Fresno, California as an LCSW with the case management department. I'm assigned to a 24-bed intensive care unit. I've been with CRMC since April of 2018 and recently celebrated 8 years of employment. In this capacity, I've had the privilege to work with patients and families that are often encountering some of the most challenging and life-altering times of their lives. I also get the privilege of providing social work support to nurses, providers, and all sorts of disciplines and ancillary staff. And being a teaching hospital partnered with UCSF, it gives me a great deal of pride to be a part of the education of medical students, residents, and fellows. Additionally, I've been given the opportunity to give back to the profession of social work by providing field instruction for I have been given the opportunity to give back to the profession of social work by providing field instruction for MSW candidates, onboarding new hires, collaborating with peers, and participating in bioethics consults. As a result of my sobriety and participation in probation, I've been able to hone my practice and be an asset to my employer and the community I serve. This is further illustrated by the performance evaluation submitted to the board that reflects I continue to exceed expectations as an LCSW in my title. A letter of support has also been provided by my supervisor as well, which recommends for early termination. And my supervisor is an LCSW, doctorate hospital administration, and also since entering probation, I have grown to appreciate how this experience has enriched my sobriety. And in respect to my step work, has given me the opportunity to make an amends to the BBS and the public at large. For I was wrong for my conduct, and I apologize to the board and the public for my behavior. I have taken the necessary steps to ensure that it does not happen again and will continue to take action one day at a time. Through therapy, I have grown personally and professionally. Personally, therapy has helped my emotional sobriety, especially with getting married about 6 months prior to probation. As my wife and I have encountered our fair share of life experiences of ups and downs, therapy has also enhanced my work in AA and the quality of my sobriety. I have a better understanding of self, sense of awareness, and agency, and how my thoughts and feelings can manifest in my behavior and attitude. I have tools today to arrest those thoughts and deal with them as they arise. Additionally, all other tasks of probation have complemented my sobriety, such as the education requirements, which further built up my knowledge base, and the compliance with random drug testing has even aided my sense of self-efficacy, as I was initially intimidated by the daily check-ins and how to manage completing tests while balancing out all other daily activities of life. However, I managed to adhere to that order and all other requirements of my probation and have been in good standing with all aspects. Also, carrying a sign-in sheet for AA meetings has helped me with my humility. As I was not required to use the sign-in sheet for the first 3 years of my sobriety, this simple task has helped me stay connected to those early beginnings of my sobriety and curtail my ego from outgrowing my spirituality and my recovery. In closing, I fully understand and concede to myself and to the board and to everybody here present that I can never drink alcohol safely again. Long-term sobriety is contingent upon my continuing to work the steps and principles of AA one day at a time. After struggling so much with my alcoholism, I now have a life again. I've been rehabilitated, restored from the person I was that summer of 2020. I have a life I'm proud of, a life that is full, and that I get to share in my personal and professional relationships. I have a fellowship of support, a host of sober friends I get to grow with, and a connection to a higher power that I can live by as a free and sober person. I also have a life that I'm attentive to by taking care of my own personal needs and regularly engaging in self-care, exercising, spending time with friends, family, journaling, having long talks with my wife, and enjoying leisure activities. I'm especially aware that the intensity of my work necessitates having healthy outlets. I sincerely hope I have provided by clear and convincing evidence that I have taken the necessary actions to address the facts of my alcoholism and of this matter, that I have substantially mitigated and alleviated the concerns for public safety through the probationary period, and it is determined to be appropriate to grant early termination of probation. It is my aspiration to move on from this phase of my personal and professional life and to continue to grow and expand my practice, such as taking steps towards providing clinical supervision. The hospital and the community I work in is underserved. I'm one of very few licensed staff and have been approached numerous times about providing clinical supervision, and the terms of this probation prevent that. And then I would love to have that opportunity to do that. I also would love to explore other opportunities. And also, as part of my recovery and my step work, again, it's very important and vital to clear up the wreckage of our past. And this is a very important step of that. Thank you again for your time and consideration regarding this matter. And I stand ready to accept whatever the outcome of today's hearing will eventually be, and trust that the outcome is what is considered for best for all involved. Respectfully, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hernandez. And before I turn you over to questioning, I just wanted to address, I think you submitted one more exhibit, is that correct, by an individual named Scott Bellafoil? Or how do I pronounce the name? I'm sorry if I mispronounced it.
Yes, Your Honor. I believe it's Scott Balafui, but I know him as Scott B.
I see.
He's
And
my
I'll spell it
sponsor.
for the court reporter, just so she has it. Scott is S-C-O-T-T. Bellefeuille is B-E-L-L-E-F-E-U-I-L-L-E. And he authored a letter dated April 12th, 2026. And who is Mr. Bellefeuille?
He is my sponsor.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to mark that as Exhibit A in this matter. And then let me see, Ms. Crawford, do you have any objection to admission of Exhibit A?
I don't.
Thank you very much. Exhibit A will be admitted. It's already uploaded to Case Center. The board members each here in person have a copy of it, and we will make sure, Mr. Ranasinghe, if you don't already have one, that it gets emailed to you and you can review it before we deliberate on this petition. Thank you. Thank you very much. Now I'm going to turn it over to you, Ms. Crawford, for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hernandez, how long have you had a problem with alcohol?
I would say I crossed that line probably when I was in my 19 to 21. I didn't seek help until I was approximately about like in my early 20s.
So you were drinking prior to the 19 to 21 years of age, but it really became a problem during that time period?
Right, and I actually did have a history of DUI before, back in 2002 and 2005. And August 5th, 2005 was my original first sobriety date.
What prompted you, or what led to you crossing that line into alcohol abuse?
Oh, prior to getting sober?
What's that?
Prior to getting sober?
Yes,
that
in
first-
your 19 to 21 year age range.
I just have the disease. I'm an alcoholic. I understand that about myself now. There was a lot of additional things that went with that, as far as not feeling comfortable in my own skin, wanting to be a part of, low self-esteem, a lot of things that many people deal with. But what was different for me is I'm an alcoholic. And when I drink alcohol, it does something different to my body. And it progressed.
I'm curious, what it is that it did different to your body that you've identified, other than you did build up quite the tolerance with a 0.36, but obviously you were able to tolerate alcohol. What else did it do for you specifically?
Just to clarify, in general or in reference to 2020?
I'm sorry, we're still talking about 2020.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, in 2020, at that point, I'm going through a lot of, like I mentioned, marital issues. I was married previously and separated from my wife in June. I moved out of the home on 4th of July of 2020. And previously I was drinking, I was what we call it, like a closet drinker. So I hid my drinking. Eventually I wasn't doing a very good job at it at all. And when I moved out, it just gave me a way out of feeling what I was feeling. That's what it did for me. The emotions. And it gave relief, mental and emotional relief.
When did you first try to achieve sobriety prior to your sobriety date?
Well, so like I mentioned, I had a prior sobriety date of August 5th, 2005. At that time, I did AA, and then in 2010, around that time, I started to drift away from the program. And with that, a lot of the old behaviors came back. I didn't drink for about 5 years or so. I think it was longer, but I began to think that I was doing it myself. I took the credit for everything that AA had given to me. And I wasn't living a principled life in my marriage. And eventually my behavior, the consequences came to a head that in that July. But in 2019 is when I returned to Alcoholics Anonymous. I want to say it was about March. And I struggled. I was still trying to do things on my terms. And also to add to, I did seek outside help in June of 2020. I did counseling. And then I also went to sought substance abuse treatment shortly thereafter. And as I mentioned in my statement, opening statement, at intake, they recommended the inpatient. And I was still, lack of a better words, running the show. I didn't surrender and justified not entering treatment.
What was the turning point for you after your arrest that is a difference than any of the other times you had gone into sober living?
That's a great question. So after my arrest, I took a leave of absence from work and entered treatment at that time and did 30 days. There was a desire to stay sober, but I wasn't being fully honest still. I told them my last drink was the day that I got that DUI, and that wasn't true. I drank that morning before entering treatment. And looking back on that now, there was no need to lie, but there was something there that I just wasn't being honest. And right off the bat, that's already a setup for failure. And my attitude while in that program, it was like, I'm here, okay, I can do this. But I remember in my notepad, I had it jotted down 30 days and I was counting it down because I needed to get back to work. And I relapsed. I remember that day vividly. I remember being driven down from the treatment center back home. It was in the foothills in the Central Valley, and I went home, called my sponsor, checked in, went to a noon meeting, took a 30-day chip, and that night I was the home I was living at, where I was renting a room. I walked across this threshold where the homeowner had a dry bar, and an insidious voice in my head whispered and said, "Are you really not going to drink anymore?" And I put up no fight and I drank. And that led to a 2 weeks of just downward spiral. The pivotal point that came it was Labor Day weekend. And Thursday through that Monday, I just continued to drink. I didn't want to be here anymore. I didn't want to necessarily kill myself, but I just didn't want to really come to. I wanted to pass out and just disappear into oblivion. And my ex-wife now, but at that time we were still married, and my brother came to the house and they took my keys, they took my wallet. And honestly, I got sober against my own will because I didn't want to stop. And as I started to get clear, and I started looking at my phone again finally, and saw the messages, and finally started responding to people, I didn't want to die. I wanted to live. And that bridged me into being able to enter the next treatment program, where I went in with an attitude of, I'm going to stay however long you say. I'm going to do whatever you tell me to do while I'm here and when it's time to go. And that was just a huge beginning. So that's what was immensely different, is I absolutely conceded and surrendered. It's not up to me anymore. That's what was different.
You said you had gotten your phone back and you saw that there was messages there and you started responding to the messages. And there was a realization for you then that you did want to continue to live. What was it about receiving messages that gave you that will?
People cared about me. My brother, even my ex-wife now, my friends in recovery, my family at work. I've been at that hospital for a long time. We're pretty close, and we go through a lot of traumatic events together. So I couldn't hide in isolation anymore. And because one of the sick places that my head fell into is I'm not hurting anybody. I'm just by myself. And that's just nothing but a bunch of self-pity. And the truth of it is, this disease hurts a lot of people. It has a huge blast radius.
You've been in counseling now.
Mhm.
And what have you discovered about that shift in your mentality from being cared about and prior to that where you didn't even feel like you didn't want to get up in the morning?
Yeah. Yeah. The journey through counseling, so much of our work has involved anxiety. And in my recovery terminology, we often call anxiety fear. And a lot of fear deals with insecurities. And I know a character defect of mine is that I project a lot of ego when I'm feeling insecure or threatened. So therapy has really helped me dive deeper into that, because the 12 steps is not therapy. It changes, and it's a miracle. But the one-on-one work with a trained clinician, that's therapy. And working with my therapist, Pat, being able to see how my anxiety manifests has been huge. That's why I share that it's greatly enhanced my sobriety, and not just my personal life, or my work in AA, I should say, I meant.
Are you still on criminal probation?
No.
When did that end?
August 4th, 2024.
How long have you been seeing your current therapist?
We started at the beginning of this probation. We actually met probably the day before February 2024, just to do paperwork.
Okay. And can you tell us a little bit about your work, your job?
Yeah. So I work on we're a level 1 trauma, like I mentioned. We're the level 1 trauma between Sacramento and LA. So we get the sickest of the sick patients there. We have a burn unit, trauma unit, medical ICU. I'm specifically assigned to a medical ICU unit. I see all patients and families, do initial assessments, biopsychosocial assessments, provide crisis intervention, brief counseling, crisis counseling, I should say. Every patient, every situation could be drastically different. I can go from one room where I have a patient that had a cardiac arrest and has a significant neurologic injury and may be dying, to the next patient over who has multi-organ failure from an infection, to somebody who had an elective open heart surgery that's going to rehab and be just fine. And then also we get our fair share of patients who have mental health or substance abuse issues that bring them into the hospital, either as the primary issue or an additional part of their medical history. But that's my primary role and assignment that I do there.
How long have you held that position?
I've been with community since April of 2018. I've been assigned to the same unit the whole time, sometimes having some additional assignments put on me, but right now that's my primary assignment.
How did you navigate your work and being an alcoholic?
Well, for most of the time that when I went back out in the late 2010s, it was very intermittent, and I was a closet drinker, so I was hiding it. But then once the separation happened, then I didn't last very long. So I didn't do well at all, given that I moved out on July 4th and got the DUI by July 19th. I was probably on track to lose that job. And I remember one of the members telling me, he saw how much it meant to me, and he told me, he goes, I'm afraid that if you lose that, you're going to lose everything. And I was progressing to that point. I was going to be unemployable by that last time I drank.
Did anybody at work know that you were struggling with alcoholism?
No, I hid it from people as much as possible. The only time they found out was when I got the DUI, because I took the FMLA and I shared with my supervisor about what was going on.
Looking back, do you think that the drinking impacted your ability to provide these very important services to your patient group?
Actually, during that time, I continue to have really good performance evaluations. I know I'm a way better LCSW now. I think back to, sometimes I can just sleep wrong, and I go into work not feeling well, and I look back on those days when I would come in hungover. It's like, how did I do that? But my performance was still sufficient, but the evaluations were better than sufficient. I had the respect of my colleagues and the medical providers. It's a closed unit, and so if something is not going well, people will let you know.
How do you feel about yourself during that time?
It's part of my story. We have a passage in our literature that says we do not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. It's part of my story, and I get to share that with people so that they can see that recovery is possible.
And you've been supervising social worker interns for the last couple years?
As far as the social worker, yeah, interns, correct. Yes.
Okay.
Say yes.
And describe how you oversee these interns.
Essentially, they will just be assigned to me on as part of their internship. In terms of that, they will just work alongside me. So initially there will be a lot of shadowing going on, and we work and integrate their learning agreements in terms of tasks and assignments that they need to complete. And then they progress towards working more independently, but I co-sign their notes. My most recent intern, she just finished this week. One of our supervisors, though, is the one who actually does the weekly supervision and signs off on things, but she's assigned to my task area.
What do you mean you co-sign their notes?
Oh, so when we document in the electronic health record, we sign them essentially, and as an intern, she needs a co-signer.
And then do you sign off on their clinical hours?
They're not receiving clinical hours.
Okay, so their work with you does not count towards the hours they need for licensure?
No, it's just part of their MSW program.
I see.
Yeah.
You've taken quite a bit of continuing education, and there are a couple that have to do with bioethics. Is that for your work?
Yeah. I just included that just to support my statement about being involved in bioethics consultations. It's something that I really enjoy being a party to. Whenever we have a non-decisional, no surrogate patient, we have to involve ethics, or if we have a disagreement between the healthcare team and the family, we may involve ethics. Dealing with those ethical dilemmas, even amongst providers sometimes, where they don't agree on the plan, or amongst other healthcare team members. So I just wanted to add that for support.
And what is the bio element of that?
It's called bioethics in the sense that it's involving the medical, the hospital. So that's what they refer to when they talk about bioethics.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you took quite a bit of classes through CE for Less
Mhm.
relating to substance use.
Mhm.
Why did you take those courses?
Oh, those were the ones that were to satisfy the education requirement of the probation.
Okay.
Yeah. Initially, I submitted some others, and Sabrina let me know that it had to be specific to the substance abuse.
Okay. Do you intend to continue on with your therapy if probation is terminated early?
Yes, we have not terminated yet, and we don't have a plan to yet.
Okay. And what about a dependency support group?
Yeah, I'm very much involved in my fellowship, and yeah, brings me a lot of joy. I cherish it.
During your statement, I think that you alluded to a lack of humility being part of the reason you didn't fully commit to sobriety in the past. Is that accurate? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
No, that is accurate. That's something that I have to work on daily. Every morning when I get up, I have to surrender. It's not. I'm a human, and it's not. And I'm gonna have feelings and emotions. Sometimes I'll be in a meeting, I'll feel very judgmental and self-righteous, as if I'm better than. The good thing is that today I can check myself, or I have people around me that will check me. The worst thing that can happen for me is that my ego outgrows my recovery. It outgrows my spirituality, then I'm in trouble. I lived that life before. I've done that before. I vividly remember me and my ex-wife, we both got our master's degrees. We both saved money. We bought a brand new house in a really nice neighborhood. We had brand new cars. I had this feeling of like I had arrived, and I no longer identified and saw myself in the people in the rooms. And I just drifted. And coming back to the rooms, there's people that were there then. And yeah, it was that ego, that lack of humility that got me in a lot of trouble.
Why was there an ego there? What prompted your need to have that ego?
That sense of growing up, that feeling of lesser than, coming from the neighborhood that I came from, the social economic stuff. I had fat kid syndrome. I just had low self-esteem.
A lot of insecurities you had mentioned.
A lot of insecurities, yes.
So how can you check yourself when you are identifying yourself as getting that ego again, kind of feeling more than somebody else in the room?
Oh, it happens instantaneously. And whether I take time to sit and pray and meditate, a lot of times in the meeting, if I have that thought, I immediately close my eyes and I start to just listen to what the person's saying and start meditating right then and there. Or I just share it with my sponsor, or talk to my wife about it, or talk to friends in the fellowship, and that's a very good check and balance on that. My spiritual life especially, and then I do a daily inventory, journaling.
And you said your spiritual life, what does that look like?
My spiritual life, well, the 12 steps is a spiritual, essentially it's a spiritual solution to alcoholism. So I have a concept of God, my own understanding, and I rely on that higher power to help me stay sober.
You have had a very long history with alcohol abuse, and for that reason, your probation was for 5 years. Why do you feel halfway through your probation you're ready to terminate?
I feel prepared in the sense that 5 years, 7 months sober, it's the next indicated thing to do. In our program, if there's an action that needs to be taken, we take the action. We don't balk. We don't succumb to fear. But as I said in my statement before, this is something that was not only of my own thinking. I took it to my God. I took it to my sponsor, to my therapist, to my supervisor, to my wife, two very close trusted friends in and out of the program. And I got supportive responses to pursue it. And if it's not granted, then I accept that. If it is, then I accept that as well.
How would it benefit you to terminate probation?
Well, as I mentioned before, being able to even pursue providing clinical supervision. I've been approached quite a few times and just have had declined. And
Because humility is such a cornerstone of your recovery, in response to my question about why you feel that you're ready, it seems to be from outside sources that are positively enforcing that you're ready, whether it be your supervisor saying that you should take on a supervisorial role, or the people around you saying that you are now, you don't need probation anymore.
Oh, I see what you mean.
How can we be assured that's not
Yeah.
a lack of humility speaking?
No, I see what I get what you're saying by that. I reference that in the sense that I just want to stress that I don't make decisions just based on self, that I'm open to discussing these things and hearing feedback. If anybody had any concerns about whether this was the appropriate thing to pursue or not, I'm going to listen to that and I'm going to take that direction. If my sponsor told me, Louis, I need you to write me a huge inventory about these 20 different things, and then after you do that and we talk about it, I'm going to do that before I would even consider filing the petition. I feel that the work that I've done since September 8th, 2020 is why I'm here to request the early termination. And I do respect that my story is like my DUI is not just an isolated incident. It is not just that. And I lived this life where getting sober, doing it on my own, being a dry drunk led to that relapse eventually. And it almost led to of me just not wanting to exist. And now I've been granted this gift, and I'm gonna do everything that I can to hold on to it. It's by the grace of God that I'm here today.
Thank you for explaining that.
Thank you.
I don't have any other questions.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Crawford. All right, I'm now going to turn to our board members for questions, and I'm going to start the other way. Mr. Ranasinghe, do you have any questions for the petitioner?
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony, Mr. Hernandez. I have no questions.
Thank you very much, sir. Ms. Bailey.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez, for your testimony today. I have a couple of questions for you. One of the first things that you said is now you have tools to deal with those thoughts. Can you talk more about what those tools are?
Yeah. Some of the most practical ones is just deep breathing, uh, even just tapping on parts of my body to get grounded. Um, writing things out in terms of connecting to my feelings. I think for so long I was always so preoccupied with how are you feeling that I'm more concerned about that I don't honor my own feeling about something right now. I can be upset, but if you're happy, I'm going to suppress that whatever I'm feeling and join in with your happiness. What else we do too is that we've done visualization exercises, and then also through even through treatment and also other programs, the exercise, the yoga, all those things have also been really helpful with quieting my mind. That was one of the most fantastic things that I've got to experience in sobriety, is that was where some of the relief from drinking, that was some of the relief that drinking gave me, was it would slow my mind down, it would quiet things down, and learning to do that in a healthy way has been just a wonderful experience.
Thank you. Congratulations on being sober 5 years and tomorrow, 8 months.
Thank you.
Did I hear you say that you had another time of about 5 years where you were sober before you relapsed?
Yeah, I was in the program from August 5th, 2005, and then around 2010, I was drifting. I drifted away, and then after that, just essentially stayed dry for another 6 years or so, or 7 years, and yeah.
I wrote down some of the words that you said,
Yeah.
and you talked about, you didn't want to surrender and resistance and
Yeah.
ego and I can do it myself
Yeah.
against my will, justifying not being in treatment and not being fully honest.
Yeah.
And right now there's some guardrails there, right? There's a lot of accountability measures around your life right now.
Mhm.
And if those were gone, what stops that ego and that resistance of saying, I can do it my way, and I know best?
Oh, no. The ultimate guardrail is one that's always going to be with me, whether I'm on probation or not. It's my program. I'm accountable to my higher power. I'm accountable to the people in the rooms. I'm accountable to the guys that I sponsor. That doesn't go anywhere.
Knowing the long history with alcohol, and you talked about you were a closet drinker,
Mhm.
and some might make the argument people did know, maybe they didn't know.
Mhm.
But there's some dishonesty with that. And you talked about the blast radius.
Mhm.
Can you talk about how long-term this has affected maybe some of your personal relationships, work history, and also, maybe even is there some level of depression or something else that goes along with that, and as well as with the alcoholism?
Yeah, yeah. I wouldn't say that was the key component in what um, ended my first marriage. There was other issues that were going on that I avoided and didn't deal with. And if anything, alcohol probably provided an escape from some of those things. Um, and then as far as I'm trying to remember the question clearer now.
Talking about over time, how, that level of alcoholism can affect your relationships,
Oh
work
yeah,
work
yeah,
relationships,
and
personal
yeah.
relationships.
Yeah, I mean, I got examples actually. I would get blacked out and I would send text messages or say things to colleagues or coworkers. That affected my work relationships. And actually, as part of my step work, I made amends to those colleagues and coworkers of mine over these last 5 years. Um, yeah, it's isolating. That's what's so insidious about it. That I don't feel when I was doing that, I didn't feel good about me. So I made my world really small. I went to work, I was home, maybe go spend time with the family. Um, but there wasn't a lot of friends, there wasn't a lot of social supports out there.
I really appreciate you being here today, and I have no further questions for you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bailey. Ms. Uribe?
Okay. Okay, so you mentioned that you go to AA meetings 5 days a week.
At least.
So why do you go so much? Because I think you're only required to go two days a week, right?
I was attending AA prior to probation, so it wasn't anything new that started. It's AA is part of my family. I want to be there. As part of working the steps, step 12, having had a spiritual awakening. My responsibility then is to carry the message to the alcoholic who still suffers. And that's where they come. They come to our meetings as newcomers. And when they walk to that door, just like I did, when my sponsor reached out his hand to me, I reach out my hand to them. That's how I've gotten to work with quite a few guys now in terms of working their steps. I have a wonderful routine that works for me, and in a roundabout way, probation actually helped with that. Because early on for the drug testing, they used a different vendor, and it was in person, and well, not in person, but it was a video, and it was out of the East Coast, and the earliest you can check in was at 3:30 in the morning, and then you would schedule your time to test. Now we have a app, and it just records you. But so in order to make sure I got my test done before work, I got in the habit of getting up at 3:30 in the morning to check in every day. And then most times you don't have to test though. And so then I would go to the gym and go to my morning meeting at 6:30. And at first I used to only go maybe Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. And then since I'm already up, I started going Monday through Friday. And now it's just part of my routine. I don't set an alarm. I just get up. If I need to sleep, I sleep. But 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm up. I'm checking in. If I have to test, I need to go test. If I don't, then I go to the gym and then I go to my meeting. And yeah, it's a great source of support. It's a surrogate family of mine.
So if you get off probation, you won't have to test. So do you think you'll continue?
Yeah, because I want to go to the gym before I go to my meeting, before I go to work. That's my day. And then that way I'm available in the evenings to do things with my wife or do work with my sponsees.
Okay. And then my last question is, you'd mentioned one step, but is there any other steps, or is that the one that kind of stands out to you?
Actually, the one that really just always sticks out in my head is the one that my sponsor told me is his favorite, is because it has his favorite word in it, and it's the 10th step: continued to take personal inventory, and when wrong, promptly admitted it. Emphasis on the word continued, he told me, because it's not if you make a mistake or mess up, it's when you mess up. Part of my character defects is that I'm a people pleaser. I have perfectionism. If I don't do something right, I do something wrong, it can really disturb me. I'm much better about that now. And he stressed that to me, that when you make a mistake, you're a human being, you will make a mistake. You need to clean it up. And so that's my favorite step.
Okay. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sovek.
Howdy.
Hi, John.
My fellow board members always poke fun at me when I do this, but I'm going to pull a like Columbo moment on you because I'm very confused about the timelines
Okay.
of your programs in and out. I've tried to write down every date that I've heard you mention. So I'm going to go through this as I'm understanding it and have you correct me and help me understand some of the ins and outs of it.
Okay.
So I believe you were in program in 2005. through 2009 or no?
So my first sobriety date was in 2005.
Okay.
I did AA from then to about 2010, and then just stayed dry, didn't drink, didn't go to meetings.
Okay. And then you were back in substance use until 2019 when you came back to program?
I started drinking, I think in late 2016, early 2017. It was a one-time thing initially, and then it just progressively got worse. That ended up with me going back to AA in 2019.
Okay. And then you came back in 2020 or tried to go into an in-treatment program in 2020?
Right. So I continue to attend meetings since 2019, and then also sought some outpatient help. But I didn't enter my first inpatient treatment until after my DUI in July 19th of 2020.
Okay, and that I think what I heard you say is that initial one, your ego got in the way and
I
said, "I'm
was-
better than the program, I'm out of here."
I was still not fully surrendered at that time. And then it took another 2 weeks, and then my sobriety date is 9/8/2020.
Okay. Can you tell me what were the motivating factors each time you returned to AA? So you 205, what made you say, "I'm going into AA"? What was the factor that said?
Oh, in 2005, my life had bottomed out. I essentially lost a job. I lost the job. I resigned, but I lost the job. I gave the job away, I should say. Um, gave the way of the relationship. I ended up incarcerated for a short period of time. And my mom was still alive at that time. And I remember when she came to visit me, just to see the look on her face about, what have you done to yourself? It wasn't fun and games anymore. It wasn't, this is just a phase. This is something different. And that's what motivated me to start going to AA and getting sober at that time.
Okay. And then the next time you came back, was that 2019?
Correct.
Okay. And what was the mitigating factor that said, "I'm coming back to program"?
My ex-wife caught me. I was out of the closet. I came home. She came home from work and she found me passed out, and I couldn't lie about it anymore. And so I had told her before, it's like, okay, if I go back to drinking, I'll go back to AA. Looking back on that now, that's not how it works. It's not something you just go sit in a room and get sobriety through osmosis.
And then this current return to AA is because of the DUI and probation, or?
No, it's more of a continuation from 2019. I just finally surrendered and stayed sober. The sponsor that provided the letter was my sponsor when I was going in 2019. It's kind of a joke that not joke, but he told me, he said, initially, he says, "I'll be your temporary sponsor until you get somebody permanent." And he's been my temporary sponsor since 2019.
Okay. Okay. What would you suspect is the reason why we should join you in the belief that this is going to stick this time?
I've done the work. I've done the things that have been asked. Prior to probation, during probation, I feel like I'm a good candidate. But I also understand that to have this license is not a right, it's a privilege. And the realization is that, like I mentioned, I had the ethical duty here. I had the responsibility. I didn't keep it then. And so I understand and accept whatever the outcome of this is.
Okay. So turning a little bit, you've talked previously about your ability to drink and mask. your closet drinking.
Oh, yeah.
No one would catch it.
Yeah.
So how would a supervisor, a colleague, a client, even us know if you had even had a drink this morning? How would we know?
Well, for the last 2 years, 3 months, I've submitted to every random drug test and I've been negative. Really, the most important thing though, for me, is I know that I'm sober, that I don't want to live a life full of lies again. That leads back to where I was on September 7th. If that was my attitude and my mentality, I wouldn't even be in this hearing right now. I don't feel like I would even be doing this. I feel like I have integrity today, and practicing honesty, as I can tell you to your face, I am sober. I did not drink last night. I drove up from Fresno and stayed at I thought it was a nice hotel, but it wasn't. And a little sketch. I even brought a drug test with me. It's in my car because I didn't know if I was going to have to test today. So my actions speak for themselves. My compliance, adherence to all requirements speak for itself. I'm just thinking back to who I was before getting sober. I'm the type of alcoholic who just starts to careen out of control, and I don't know if I have another recovery in me. That's where I'm at with all this. I don't know, so I'm gonna do everything I can to hold on to this one.
And ultimately, these questions I'm asking are because our duty as a board is to protect your clients.
Correct.
It is ultimately. And so you're inviting us to take a leap of faith with you to say that if you remove all of these constraints, I will not return to any substance use. And this timeline makes it challenging to join you in that belief system.
Right.
Okay, I am not questioning your sobriety in any way, shape, or form. But I want you to understand what my duty is to the clients that you're going to be seeing going forward. So that's what this line of questioning is about for me.
I totally understand that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then one last question for you. If you had a client come in and shared with you that they had had a DUI and their blood alcohol level had been 0.36, what would your reaction be to that? How would you handle it? What concerns might you show towards that client?
Yeah, I've actually had patients that have had higher than 0.36, 0.4, 0.5. I take a very measured approach to that, actually. A lot of times, the other healthcare team members pass moral judgments or think that this is just a choice to some degree. I see it as a disease. To me, it's just like anything, like untreated diabetes or cancer. But what I need to ascertain is where are they at with this?
So just being even more germane with my question, at 0.36, what happens to the body?
At 0.36, depending on body weight, size, composition, you can black out, you can pass out, you can die at 0.36. 0.36 can kill people. I thought 0.5 could kill people, and I see them in my unit and they're alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Walker.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Hernandez, I sincerely appreciate your presence this morning, okay?
Thank you.
You speak with such clarity and conviction. So I have one question for you, okay? But I just, before asking, I just want to let you know that I hear you verbally expressing remorse for violating a trust, and I'm using your own words, to
Right.
yourself and consumers,
Right.
that you admitted your judgment was off in this matter, and that you're your own worst enemy sometimes. And I appreciate you referring to your road to redemption in managing your sobriety and what those efforts have been, okay, thus far. And the questioning that has come before me has just really answered most of my questions. So I just want to directly just ask you personally, do you believe that you're a threat to consumer protection?
No,
Why not?
I'm sober. I'm rehabilitated. I have experiences that can benefit consumers, if anything. I've demonstrated that. I've done that. I have peers and colleagues that I'm accountable to. I have a relationship with a higher power that I'm accountable to. I have a life that I absolutely love. And being dishonest or manipulative would take that away.
So do I hear you stating that you believe that you are fully rehabilitated?
Yeah, as my clinician puts on my paperwork, I'm in remission with my substance use disorder. In terms of my program, I'm recovered from a hopeless state of mind, but I'm always going to be an alcoholic, just like somebody will always be a diabetic.
I appreciate you owning that.
Yeah.
Thank you. I have no
Thank
further
you.
questions.
Thank you very much. Ms. Friedman, any questions?
Hi, Mr. Fernandez. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
You have a very interesting life story so far. And you've told us about some of your failures. In fact, you've had a few failures. And you're asking us today to believe that if we take you off of probation, this will not be another failure. But you also said that your ego drove you. And I assume, of course, you still have an ego. I mean, we all have an ego. It doesn't
Right.
go away.
Right.
Explain to me how that pattern fits into what you think will keep you on the path of sobriety if we take you off of probation.
Right. Well, as I'm recovered and rehabilitated or working on my program, I like to think that my ego has also benefited from that in the sense that it's more of a healthy ego. You're right. We all have an ego. The difference today is I see how I can be helpful to others, how my experience and my recovery can be helpful to others to help to be able to speak with some conviction, to be able to carry a message of depth and weight. There needs to be something there. What is different is I don't do it in a way to be like, look at me, look at what I've done. Give me the pomp, give me the praise, give me the glory. Those motives, that type of behavior was the thing that was sickening or can be sickening. I think that's the difference in terms of what's of how this process has turned out for me in terms of a healthy ego and a sick ego.
So your ego has actually changed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in the work that you do and being in contact with Californians every single day of your job,
Yeah.
you feel that you're totally safe right now.
Yeah. I work with some very vulnerable and populations. Even just yesterday, I'm meeting with a family that drove in from out of town because their family member had a cardiac arrest in one of our local jails due to a substance abuse overdose, most likely. And it's very rewarding work to be able to be there and to support them through that process and help them anticipate what's going to happen next. These are if I'm not well, I'm not able to serve them well. So I totally have tons of respect for making sure that I am attending to my own needs and my own, well-being. I failed at that last time. I didn't attend to it well.
It seems as if being on probation has been the one time you really succeeded.
Well,
And I'm sorry, go
oh,
ahead.
no, I'm sorry. I was,
And so what I was going to ask is, since it's been so helpful to you, why do you really want to get off so quickly?
oh, well, I was approximately, well, when probation started in February 2024, I was already 3 years sober. And probation has added some elements to my life. And I always look at in terms of like, what's my attitude towards something going to be? And so if there's something that can provide something to enhance, I'm going to just be open-minded to that. But as far as the petition for the early termination, for myself, it's just part of the natural progression of my sobriety. Going on 6 years sober this September, I would love to be able to move beyond this part of my sobriety or move beyond this part and have this peace, have this piece, addressed with the BBS and with the public, and then also to be able to pursue that clinical supervision aspect. It's twofold. There's a professional element to it, and there's a personal element to it. That's my motivation there.
Thank you so much. I
Thank you.
appreciate your
Thank you.
explanations.
Okay.
Thank you. And Ms. Thies.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I'm just trying to express how I feel about your testimony today. Very emotional. You've done a lot of work, and I see that. It's a work that you've been battling for a long time, and I feel the weight of that. I have two questions. The first is about your therapy. I think I read, and I was trying to find it again, that you have had decreased psychotherapy. Was it weekly and then biweekly and then monthly?
Oh, yeah. Initially, it started out weekly, and then we progressed to every other week. I think it was this year or about beginning of this year, we progressed to once a month.
How has that decreasing therapy, how has that experience been for you, and how would that change if you were granted early termination of probation?
All right. The plan at this time is to continue monthly. The decrease, weekly was really hard. My assignment is 8 to 4:30, but sometimes I don't get to leave at 4:30. Just if something's going on the ICU, I can't just walk away from a situation. Finding my therapist's availability, she was one of the few ones that actually could accommodate me after hours in the evenings. Sometimes we had to meet at 5, so it was pretty stressful at times, getting to therapy on time and whatnot. But the transition to from biweekly to monthly, it's been pretty smooth. She keeps an open door, and she tells me if I need to check in with her about something or I need to speak with her, more than welcome to reach out to her, text, phone calls. She's pretty available to me. But again, I also have a whole lot of folks that are really involved in my life. I have a commitment meeting with my sponsor I do every Monday night with a few other guys, and it's a smaller meeting where we sit around the table and do some reading and also share about things, and so that's weekly. And then of course there's the meetings themselves where there's a lot of sharing and communicating that goes on before the meeting, during the meeting, after the meeting. And then there's the guys I work with on the regular that I sit down and work with once a week as well. So I have and then there's the work family. So a lot of good, healthy outlets.
Thank you. My second question is just about staying sober. You mentioned the room you were renting and how you put up no fight that night to go take a drink. Do you still feel like it's a fight to stay sober?
No. Oh, no.
Mhm.
No, the obsession, that's been lifted. That's one of the earliest promises that we get through the program is having that obsession lifted. Um, I'm in a place of neutrality when it comes to alcohol in of itself. I can go spend time with my family. They drink, it's fine. I have a reason to be there. I'm going to be there. And then when it's time to go, I don't overstay. Um, yeah, it's not a fight. There aren't voices like that today.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Let me just check with all the board members. I do see one hand raised, actually two. And Mr. Renasinghe, did you have your hand raised? No.
No, I did not.
Perfect. I just want to make sure we didn't leave you out. Mr. Sovik, you were first. Um, Go ahead.
Just me, hi.
Yeah, hey.
How did you find your current therapist?
Well, actually, it was through a friend in the program. I was struggling with getting a therapist, even with insurance. It was a challenge. The few that did have openings, once I went into why I was seeking the therapy as part of part of the requirements of the therapy was this involvement with probation. They had wait lists, or we'll get back to you. And so a friend in the program was seeing somebody, and they referred me to their therapist. And I explained to her what was going on, and she's like, I'll work with you. I'll help you. And that's how I found her.
And what do you know about this therapist training and experience in substance use disorders?
Oh, as far as substance use disorders, I know she's been licensed for a number of years, I think since the 70s. I'm getting closer to retirement now, and she also has her PhD as well. But I know she actually works a lot with people that are in the 12-step community. I know she has, I come to find out there's other folks in the fellowship, and not just the meeting I go to, but in our community in Fresno area in general, that she works with. She provides therapy to. I think her approach is part of her approach is the acknowledgement that there is that in Alcoholics Anonymous, it's about getting to that spiritual solution.
And are you aware of any specific or additional training that this therapist has mentioned working with this community?
Man, I know she's had like tons of experience, because I know she's worked, and she told me about some of her past experiences down in, or no, I saw her resume actually. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I know it was provided to the board. Yeah, just tons of experience, from psychiatric to substance abuse to just private counseling services. But I can't think of anything off the top of my head. She does a regular, I think she called it like eclectic type of approach as well, but the EMDR, she's done that. And, just regular talk psychotherapy as well.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay.
Let me make sure. Was there another question on that side of the room? No? Any questions here? Okay, perfect. Ms. Crawford, are you satisfied?
I just need one moment to review something, Your Honor.
That's okay.
When you chose this therapist that you have, did you need to submit anything to the board for approval of the therapist?
Yes, there's a form, and that's what I needed the resume for. And then we had to sign releases, and that was submitted prior to us initiating therapy. She had to be approved. And then I received a letter that she was approved.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Crawford. All right, Mr. Hernandez, anything else you'd like to add before we adjourn?
No, I just want to again say thank you to you all. I know it's going to be lunchtime, so but thank you to the board and to you, Your Honor, and to all the staff and everybody involved in all this. And I just appreciate the time and consideration. So thank you.
Thank you very much for being here and your patience as well. At this time, the record is closed. Matter is submitted for decision, and we can go off the record in this matter. Madam Court Reporter, if I could just get the end time and page count, please. Thank you. And if you need any spellings, all right. And then I'll defer to our board president as to when we should rejoin for our third petition.
So we're going to be taking a break now and we'll be coming back at 1 o'clock.